Ooh, listen to that. No static. I'm not even putting my hand on it. Isn't that great? I go to the race with my entire regular setup, and there's just no static. I love that. All right, let me set up my little shit here. Okay, I don't think we're actually looking for splits right now, so I'm gonna take that off my my thing there. All right. Hello. It's me. I need to figure out a few things though. Is the camera okay? I think it's fine. It's like definitely crooked, right? Wait. Can I tilt it this way? Oh, it needs to come down a little bit, right? Yeah, it's definitely higher. Okay, let me do that. 1 second. Just gotta lower that shit a little bit. I think that's good. Let's see. Make sure you keep the sponsors in view. Oh, like behind. Oh, this is way better, right? Yeah, this looks super normal. Okay. Beautiful. So you were not turned into juice for the league team after all? Huh? I didn't say they were doing that. I said they would. Like, if somehow turning us all into juice were to help the league team, they would do that. Max, what are your thoughts on how the race will go? You think you'll be able to keep the belt and go back? I don't know how to answer that. Are you at all worried about a death in Tazavesh? Not really. I mean, honestly, I don't think the Tazavesh thing is like that impactful for the race. Like, ideally, if we're gonna spend time doing it, you'd rather no one die and you get your pieces from it. But I mean, if all of our characters have full heroic, like harbinger of like not the mythic track token, but the heroic one next week, what do you think the chances that the mythic item they get from Tazavesh, the mythic track item from Tazavesh, is an upgrade? What do you think the chances are? Like, think about it. Every single piece of gear that you have is going to be 4 out of 6 hero track, right? Minimum. So you're getting a 1 out of 6 mythic track. What would you and the entire pool of mythic plus dungeon loot? So it's like basically you hit the lottery and you get your best trinket, not even a trinket. Or you get like a two-hander maybe. It's like a very, very minor crest save. For the regular community, like everybody else, it's super sick, I think. There's like decent chance it saves a good amount of crests for you. But for the race, I think it's actually like... I'm actually interested. I wonder if it's not even worth the time. Straight up. Like, I wonder if a guild will choose to like not do it. Maybe it's like 15%. I mean, think about it. How many... You're saying there's a 15% chance to get a good item? So you have to get literally your Bis Trinket. Or you would have to get a two-hander if you're a two-hand class. And if you're a one-hander, you're most likely crafting weapon anyway because it's so easy. Like, I'm thinking there's, like, I don't know how many things are total in the Mythic Plus loot pool, but I'm guessing, like, less than 3 items or something are going to actually be what you want. It's honestly, like, extremely... Like, I bet if our whole guild did it, I'm not actually, like, doing math here, just, like, purely off feel. I feel like maybe one raider maybe will get something that is okay. Max, how long did it take you to nail down a comp for this race? Was it easy choices? Oh, largely, I think so. I mean, it's still changing, right? Like, it could change tomorrow. There could be more tuning tomorrow. What guild decides to go for it and if they get more mythic items? I mean, I just don't even know if, like yeah, I don't know. Like, dude, just imagine you spend an hour doing hard mode Tazavesh in your guild, and let's just say every single group one-shots it. It's likely you get 0 upgrades and you just wasted an hour of progression too. You know, that can happen. How many days are you expecting splits to take this time around? Probably around the same as usual. The variables are like, so we're gonna have some extra vault stuff coming into this week versus most seasons. What are some other variables? There's not nearly as many. I mean, there's basically 0 very rare gear, and the way splits work is usually you're just looking for a good run, and if there's no very rare loot that people want, it obviously makes it significantly more likely that every run is good. So maybe that means, like, we're planning on doing a certain amount of splits, but after like 3/4 of them, we're like, okay, like literally everyone has a geared character. Why would we do 4 more runs? And then maybe you don't do it. Who knows? Do you expect a short or long race? What is a short race? What does that mean? Like 1 reset? I would honestly even call anything around like 7, 8 days a short race at this point. But I mean, if short to you means 1 reset, I feel pretty confident in saying I don't think that's ever going to happen again. Like, literally, it'll never happen again. I think something so extreme would have to happen for that to happen. I just find it so unlikely that that would ever happen again. Like, the only time it's happened with no heroic week ever is Aberrus, and because of the new upgrade system, we were like relatively 6 eye levels higher than any other season, which is like insane amounts of power. That's the only reason that was done in 1 week. So, and that's not happening this season, at least. Who knows if ever again. So, Emerald Nightmare was a joke. Emerald Nightmare XDD. Well, yeah, I mean, so they stopped making raids like Emerald Nightmare. Like, Emerald Nightmare, as much as it's memed for being easy, was back when those raids were supposed to be easy. Like Highmaul, Mogashan Vaults, Emerald Nightmare, the intro raid to those 3 expansions was intentionally supposed to be less challenging to get people into raiding that are new. They haven't done that since BFA. And BFA was like almost 7 years ago. So, yeah, something like Emerald Nightmare would never happen again because they don't make raids like that anymore. Max, when's that new race shirt dropping? Bro, we're doing like headshots and like group photo today, and all of us in our jerseys, and then I was wearing that as I was starting this stream, and then I realized that we haven't even announced it yet, so I had to take it off, and I'm gonna have to put it on again to go do the group pictures and shit. So that's gonna be sick. I wish they'd just fucking launch that shit. Yeah. Damn, you couldn't have done a little leaking. I can only leak with permission. I haven't been given permission, nor really have I asked, but... Max, do you think the bugged version of Gallywix that exists this week was what they intended on releasing? Wait. The one where it does like 30 million damage to you in like 15 damage events within 1 second if you try to cross a line ever? I'm going to go with it's extremely unlikely that that is what they intended to happen. No. Would Tazavesh loot be a variable with y'all? Well, I mean, what do you mean? Like, what kind of variable? Imagine trying to ask Max questions in YouTube chat. I read YouTube chat. Also, speaking of that, I am also live on... I believe I'm live on Kick right now. I'm like going to be Kick co-streaming during this raid, which I'm pretty sure I'm live. But also, there's not a single viewer in there, so... Maybe not. I don't know. Oh, by the way, I'm going to need some mods for that shit, but I also don't feel like setting it up. Wait, Kick? Yeah, no, I just, someone told me to... It was not my decision. But it's there. So, W. It's sub-only mode on Kick. Yeah, that's intentional. There's 0 mods there right now, and I'm not looking at it, so... I feel like that's the, Oh, people are following it. Can you guys just tell me the, like, quality real quick? Does it look like normal? I just literally copied my other settings and just went live, 0 effort, so... It looks just like Twitch? Sweet. Easy. Yeah, just telling you right now, I will definitely never be reading that chat. Like, I know YouTube likes to complain that I don't do that. But I do. I will definitely not be reading that one, though. There's ain't no way I'm looking at 3 chats. Hey, Max, we're hoping this message is writing... Oh, I gotta check my email. Okay. They're creating... What? As it looks like you're currently multi-streaming, use the multi... Wait, we just want to give you a quick... It looks like you're currently multi-streaming. The multi-stream toggle in your creator dashboard is switched off, which can be seen in the following screenshots. There's been an update to allow you to multi-stream and generate revenue. Oh, you have to literally type that you're multi-streaming somewhere? Okay. I mean, how do I change that? Oh, you guys literally told me. It's also worth noting that you can use the chat commands multi-on and multi-off. Oh, okay. Cool. Doing it. Slash multi-on. Is that a thing? Space on. Got it. I think I did it. Multi-streaming has been enabled. Are we good? Kick support? Are we good? Is it fixed? Max mod me and Kick. I mean, yeah, if you guys are like on Kick, I will definitely need race mods on the Kick channel. But yeah, 1 second. Sorry. I think I did it. Okay, so apparently you only need to enable the multi-streaming option if you are multi-streaming to anything but TikTok, Shorts, and Reels. I mean, well, I'm streaming to YouTube and Twitch, so obviously it means both of those. Okay, that's fine. I wonder why. Probably some partner agreement shit. Max, are you good on power this time? I mean, I hope so. I hope so. Last time it wasn't an unfortunate bit of misinformation. Last year, it was not planned power outage. That was a complete fake news. Unfortunately, it was some shit blew up. But I hope that doesn't happen again for sure. That would be bad. That was not nice. Max, your thoughts on the new mess of the roster? You've spammed this like 15 times already. I have no answer for you. I don't know what to tell you. I don't rate in method. I have no idea how good they're looking in the tier or whatever. It doesn't make I can't answer that. How could I answer that? Hey Max, will your VODs be free or only for subs during the race? My VODs on YouTube are always free. That being said, during the race, usually the VODs after 12 hours don't like record for some reason, and I don't really have a good solution for that now, so that'll probably still be the case. Maybe my kick VODs will be public. I don't actually really know how that works, so. Wait, someone subbed to me on Kick. Okay. Whew. This is so value. Let's go. Your Kick chat is in sub-only mode. Oh, that's super intentional, by the way. At least until I can, like, have a bunch of people get promoted to mod or whatever. Which I am not going to do myself, so someone will have to do that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the safe thing. I've heard a lot of stories about like random bot waves and stuff like that in the chat, and I just don't. It's not something I ever want to think about during the race, and it's certainly nothing I want to think about right now. So it is on sub-only mode for the time being. Max, kick VOD. That's good. Max, how involved are you with boss strategy? Is it a big team effort? Yeah, it's a big team effort. I largely have like the final say and stuff like that. But yeah, there's been I would say it's definitely become more of a team effort over time. Like especially like 5 or so years ago near the beginning of the race world first, I was definitely like the only one doing that shit. Everyone gives input, but like, I mean, we have I mean, it's very, very collaborative now. Which is great. It's faster, it's better. Any thoughts given on the Deathless Tazavesh rewarding Mythic track? I think it's cool. I know why people are mad, right? It's just like what if I'm the person who dies an hour in and then like people are mean to me? I can definitely see being afraid of that. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal because I don't think it's actually that good. Like, it's one random Mythic track item. It's actually extremely unlikely that it's even good for you. You know, it could be a ring or a neck with bad stats. Like, if it was like a vault you could pick between 3 items, or if it was like a more localized loot pool or something, I think people would feel super bad. But like, I'm just going to make this up. I think you have like probably like a 10% chance of looting something even week 1 that you would even equip. And if that's the case, you wouldn't feel that bad missing it. And therefore, I feel like it's kind of a cool aspirational goal. Like, clearly they're trying to make the whole like hard mode mega dungeon more relevant in the game. And I think in general that concept is cool. I don't know if this is the exact way they should roll it out, but yeah. It's double the myth track for Mythic Plus only dudes. Yeah, except it's like basically you're RNGing like a 1 slot of your vault, right? It could just be any piece. Yeah, I get that. Mythic track week 1, how are you not equipping it? I mean, I guess you would if it's like a tier slot and you just catalyze it, but it's not a huge crest save. And the like, what if you get like a ring, bad stats? What if you get a bad trinket? Hitting weapon or trinket is huge though. Like you definitely could get a huge power spike off of it, especially if you're not in the race. For the race, it's like really low value, I think. Max, let us redo the raid comp prediction. We will do that, but I'm not going to have you start doing it now because I definitely have at least 2 more things I have to do within the next hour. They're doing like a little 15-minute interview with me for the documentary, and they're also doing the group photo, and I don't want to start any content and have to stop it. So I'm probably just going to yap. Little documentary? Question mark? Oh yeah, it's like they've done it a few times. I think for the past couple races, there's like a little behind the scenes Race to World First doc that you can watch on YouTube that's released after the race. It's I'm pretty sure it's just that. I don't actually know. Max, do you think a Chinese guild will ever have a chance at World First? Yeah, I guess so. That sounds fine. Do you know when the new jersey will be released? No, I actually don't. I mean, I literally have it right next to me. I can look at it. In fact, our entire guild is wearing one right now, except for me, because I'm streaming. So I'm just going to go out on a limb and guess that it's going to be announced tomorrow or Tuesday. And if it's not announced by then, that would be pretty wild, because that is you know, like, feel like that's when you'd want to have people be clicking buy on that stuff, you know? Is it cooler than last time? Last race's jersey was really cool. I think for some people, based on the aesthetic, that this jersey will be the coolest one we've ever made. But I think last one is a lot of people's coolest jersey we ever made from last year. It's definitely very, very sick. Very aesthetically, like, matching with the raid. It's very nice. What about poll count predictions? I haven't done one yet, and honestly, I'm a little off of that. I just think it's like almost complete meaningless entertainment. Like, if there was some kind of like, man, I could really diagnose how hard raid bosses are, and like, I really feel like this is going to take a long time or not that much time. I'm not talking me, or I'm just saying anyone. If you could do that, I'd be like, poll count predictions would be kind of awesome to see how well you could like peer into the future for that. But I would like to think I'm as good at that as you can be, just because it's my job to like kill these bosses fast, and I should have the most information on how long I think they should take, and I don't know anything. It's in my opinion, it's completely random. Like, you're just guessing. It's a boss could be on PTR insanely hard, look really challenging. It could just be easy on live. A boss could be crazy on PT or nothing on PTR. It could be completely remade into one of the hardest bosses of all time. A boss that's very mechanically simple can just have the hardest tuning check ever, making it plus 100 pulls, whatever. Like, there's so much of that happens every tier that I feel like what you're doing with pull count predictions, more or less, is you're just picking the average amount of attempts it usually takes for like the second to last boss or for the end boss, and it's no more complicated than that. If you're trying to do more than that, like be like, oh, well, this boss has this mechanic, and that means it'll be super hard. You're just making it up. It's just like, there's no way you could have any insight into that, in my opinion, that isn't just totally fucking guessing. So I'm usually off of it as content because I just think it's a huge meme. There's like no skill to it whatsoever. Complete RNG. Oh, I got raided by someone. Holy moly, who was that? Kira, probably? Oh, W. Cool. Max, is it true historically that the last tier of an expansion is mostly the easiest one? Like the raid? That's certainly not true in the last couple expansions. Like, Amir Drasil was pretty hard. Actually, Amir Drasil was weird. Like, the first part of the raid was, like, historically easy, and then the last two bosses were, like, two of the hardest bosses ever. Sepulcher was one of the hardest bosses of all time, or hardest raids of all time. And it was also, but that's weird because they just had, like just a million more bosses than they have now, and I think a lot of people think there's, like, basically two end bosses in there, and they, like, slammed the end of two raids together. But going before that, like, I don't think Nyalotha was, like, the hardest raid of that expansion, maybe. I don't know if Antorus was the hardest raid of Legion, you know? Like, but recently they've been kind of hard, but, like, for a lot of people, hard can mean different things. Like, I think largely it's the last boss and the second to last boss that determine it. Like, Amir Drasil is a perfect example of that. I think people remember Amir Drasil as a crazy hard raid, and, like, up until the last two bosses, it was extremely easy to do the raid. Like, really easy. Like, record low pull counts. And then in Nerebar, or this raid was interesting because, like, the first four bosses took way more pulls than usual, but then, like, the last boss wasn't that hard. But then also turbo boost, stacking raid buff. I don't know. I don't know if there's really a lot to go off on that. Like, I certainly, to answer your question, I certainly don't go into a raid and I'm like, well, this is the last raid of the expansion, so this shit's gonna be hard. Like, I don't view this raid as any different in the design intention than any other raid that they make. The last boss will likely be harder than Galley. Yeah, for the Race World First, Gallywix is a historically easy end boss, so you'd be wise to bet that that Dementius will be harder than that. But that's not really because of Dementius, it's just kind of just how stats work. What do you think of Echo Method's roster? I can't answer that, but I did throw out a tweet earlier that was asking people to, like, who do you think is going to win the race? As with most polls, it's probably going to be decently inaccurate, especially because my stream specifically, or like, my Twitter is going to certainly overrepresent people voting for us, because I imagine you're more likely to follow me or see that if you are a Liquid fan. So I wasn't really expecting us to not be the favorite just because of that. Here, I pull it up here. So who wins the Race World First? List your thing. Echo and Method are real close in people's minds. Like, almost the same guess for if Echo's going to win or Method. And then, I mean, even more of a meme. Like, I mean, if you watch the race, there are just as many people who think a guild not named Liquid Echo or Method has a chance to win, like, within a 10% chance of, like, Echo. Or a 20% chance of Echo winning. Which is, like, I mean, that's just completely insane. Like, I mean, I probably shouldn't have even put that on the post. But I did find this very interesting that Echo and Method in the community's eyes are so close together. Honestly, I think that's insane. I think that's, like, heavy disrespecting Echo based on history. Obviously, anything could happen. Anyone could win. But, like, that's insane. And then the most insane thing is people voting for a guild not named Liquid Echo or Method having a 10% above a 10% chance to win the race and more than Method itself and almost more than Echo. That is like that's just a complete joke. I think it's just people picked it. That might have even just for some people been like, I'm not going to pick any of these things. I'm just going to see the options. But then I feel kind of shitty for putting a poll out that doesn't include any other potential guilds. So I don't like regret putting it there. But yeah. So not super accurate. Does Dark Horse include Method? I think Dark Horse very clearly doesn't include Method because they're also listed here. But then I asked people to list their in order. Liquid Echo Method, I would like to see Echo first. Who the hell is Dark Horse? Oh yeah, maybe Dark Horse is super confusing. I wonder if anyone has Method over Echo in their like ranks. No one so far. Oh, there we go. He says hope it is. Oh, this person stood 10 toes down. Liquid Method Echo. That would be, dude, if that actually happens, if Method beats Echo or beats us too, I mean, if just in general, like the battle that's going on in EU right now, if like Method overtakes Echo, that is going to be an insane thing to watch go down. I actually have no fucking clue what would happen if that happened. Definitely think that is unlikely to happen though. I think the storylines are, well, because both are kind of fascinating, right? Like if Method beats Echo, that's fascinating. But in my opinion, it's also fascinating as fuck if Method comes in third again. Now you may instantly be like, well, how is that fascinating? That's been what's happening. But like clearly, there's more hope behind Method internally and from their fans. That like I don't know how many times you can be third and get everyone's hopes up that you're going to win or come in second and then have that not happen, right? So I think like seeing how that plays out, especially with all the new people that joined, would be interesting too. Us losing, I guess, would be interesting, but that doesn't sound fun at all. That sounds bad. I don't want that to happen one bit. One bit. Not even for the plot? Nah, fuck the plot, bro. Come on. Actually, there's a lot of, or at least a few, like, Liquid Method Echoes. There we go. This guy says Method wins, then Liquid, then Echo. That would be, bro, I feel like if this actually happened, the community would go absolutely crazy. That would be very, I mean, it's clearly, based on what people are saying, that would be really unexpected. But, like, if that happened, that would be extremely crazy. Be a lot of hype going into the race after that, for sure. What are the dogs? What are the dogs for in here? Max, do you consider the optional boss required for World First? No, so that's some old news. Blizzard kind of went back on that. They added Soul Hunters into the required achievement for Hall of Fame, so there's no more like guessing on what people are going to do with that. The reality is who wins the race isn't going to be who necessarily kills Dimensius first. It's going to be who shows up as number 1 on Hall of Fame, and that is going to be the first guild that's 8 out of 8 Mythic, not 7 out of 8. So it's not really optional anymore. You can still choose to like go to Fractalus instead of Soul Hunters, even though if I were to guess, Fractalus is going to be a higher pull count boss than Soul Hunter, like almost guaranteed, just by the way that they're made. But if that's the case, like I guess you could also choose to just go do Nexus King before Soul Hunters, assuming you kill Fractalus. Like all of those things are true. Maybe there's some kind of interest behind Soul Hunters as to when a guild decides to go there, maybe, because like you never want to be the guild that's giving away information if possible. So if we go to Fractalus, I don't know who's going to go to Soul Hunters of the top guilds. And then if we kill Fractalus and don't go to Soul Hunters or Nexus King or whatever, the same thing would happen, right? So I don't really know when we're going to go to it. But I don't know. I like as far as the actual race is concerned, I don't think it's that controversial. Like it's going to have to be killed anyway. It's just I just don't know exactly when it's going to happen. Like for example, we did. What are you looking at? No, okay, he's giving me a little stare as he goes by. Like that'd be like last tier when you're on Styx, and then let's just imagine Sprocket was optional. In fact, I think those are exactly the same spot in the raid. Is that true? No, that's not true. So that would be basically last tier you kill Styx, and then One Arm Bandit and Sprocket Monger are both like you can do either one, but only one of them is optional. Like if One Arm Bandit was optional, for example, after you killed Sprocket, how many people would have gone to kill One Arm Bandit versus if you could have just immediately gone to Muggsy? I don't really know. Max, so you're saying there's a world out there where Echo kills Dimensius first, but Liquid kills all 8 bosses first and wins the race? Technically, yeah. I doubt, really doubt that's how that would ever play out for all of the reasons that I just said, but that is technically possible. In fact, something close to that almost happened in Heimdall. Like, Paragon killed all 7 bosses first, but they killed Butcher last. They killed Imperator before Butcher, but, like, technically... And Echo already killed, or not Echo, they were Method at the time. Method already killed Butcher, and, like, maybe they could have been the second to kill Imperator, but have gotten World first. I honestly like it when there are choices on which boss to pull. Really? Like, I think it's almost cool, but it's like not, you know? It would be cool if there would be a reason for people to try out different bosses, but the reality is if there's ever 2 bosses to choose from and all the top guilds are at the same point or very close, every guild is going to go to the same boss. It would be a mistake for any guild to be like, you know what? Instead of doing the boss that this guild is already ahead of us on and has figured out and we can copy their shit, we're going to go be the guild on the new boss and we're going to take the extra time and learn the fight where everyone can copy from us. It's just stupid. Like, it doesn't make sense to do that. You're hurting your chances to win the race by making that decision. So, like, it doesn't really make sense for anyone to do anything different. Therefore, it's, like, kind of not an interesting decision at all. All right, little kick stream check. Oh, there's like a couple subs here. Oh, here for the value, now mod you. Okay, I don't know how to mod you, but I will try, Kesu. Mod. Okay, modded Kesu. I'll just mod the few people who happen to... Do not sub on my kick stream for, like, to get modded. Because, like, that's not how that's going to work. I don't want to incentivize you to do that, but... there's just a few people here that seem like they're normal. So I'll just do that, I guess, for now. I'll probably turn off sub mode early or later without announcing it. I just feel like having a fully new setup stream on a new platform with no mods whatsoever, especially Kick, and then just letting it run wild. Like I heard there's some bot, like your stream can get like bot rated and stuff, and do I want to deal with that? No. I am interested to see like how many people watch the stream on Kick though, because like that's why I'm multi-streaming on it. I just feel like it's just something on. I don't have to think about it, and it's like available in a different place. But I wonder how many Kick viewers are going to be like, I'm not on Twitch, I'm not on YouTube. I otherwise wouldn't have watched this, and now I'm going to watch it. Because I don't think WoW's necessarily big on it, but certainly couldn't hurt. Could be great. Who knows? I watch on YouTube for the playback. I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe Kick has a very similar playback thing to YouTube. I believe. Oh, on Kick, can you hear music, by the way? That's another thing I'm not aware of. So YouTube, I don't send my music to YouTube because they'll sue me or something. But I wonder if Kick you can do that, or if they also have like similar DMCA strike situations going on. Kick wants you to check your email again. Oh, what did I do? I already checked it. Is there a new one? Wait, I don't see a new email from them. I already, unless you're reading the initial thing on there. Yeah, no, I already did what they needed me to do. We're good. Damn, we could have actually had you guys redo your comp. But we'll just do it. We'll do it after the group photos or whatever. Kind of hungry. Max, how do you feel about the new Tazavesh hard mode giving Mythic loot item? I already answered it earlier, but long story short, I think it's fine. I understand people's like reservations with it, but I don't think it's OP enough of a source of loot. It's like actually really RNG. I think it's going to be very good. So I think it's kind of cool that they're trying something like that. There's definitely some potential downsides, but I also think it's cool too. Like especially Mythic Plusers having a chance of getting like an extra Mythic Plus item a week sounds really good, right? But like there's some potential toxicity. There's some like high tensions. Like with most things, some people will feel required to do it. Certainly anytime there's stuff with power stuff, but it's definitely going to be only relevant for like a few weeks, and then I think it's going to largely be like you're gonna have to hit the lottery to get something good out of it. But maybe if still people do that content for the chance, then it's a good thing. Maybe. Not sure. Didn't they do it for Dottie and no one cared? Well, wasn't Dawn of the Infinite in the like middle of the patch to where it was already like super relevant? I feel like this is the first time it's happening at the release of a patch, which obviously it has a lot more potential value. Potential, it's guaranteed. Potential in meaning you want the item. I think a mistake a lot of people are assuming is that like whatever mythic track item they're getting is like a large chance to be an upgrade, and I actually don't think that's true. It's probably close to 50-50 week one maybe for the non-race player, and every week after that I think it's like significantly less. Like if you get a trinket that's not BIS, in a lot of cases that thing isn't going to be good for you and you're not going to want to spend crests on it. Getting a weapon could maybe help you save crafts, but crafting a weapon is very valuable. It's like really, really valuable. So like even if it's not a good statted weapon, maybe you don't do that because you want to replace it at some point. It can be a crest saver. It could be a crest saver, yeah, based on the item, but it's a very small amount of crests. Like for the race, it's like completely relevant. Not completely relevant, but pretty close. But I think it's cool though. I'm definitely a fan of them trying it and at least seeing how it plays out. Did you watch Jack's wipe prediction video? Yeah, I used it as like a podcast to fall asleep to last night. I don't remember anything from it though. Okay, I think the last thing I remember was he said that the fourth boss, uh, like whatever its name, Forge Weaver was going to be like 60 pulls or something like that. And I just remembered hearing that, and I'm like, damn, that's crazy. Like the fourth boss in a raid taking 60 attempts has maybe happened. Like, when the fuck has that happened? It happened on Styx, in which they instantly nerfed Styx, implying that like they're basically saying, wow, we released that way too hard. You know, fourth bosses, maybe 60 pulls, like maybe Soul Render. Certainly nothing in Sepulcher. I think bosses up through 4 were like pretty pissed. Was like DeSausage your fourth boss? It was like DeSausage or Zymox, and both of those were really easy. Ashvane? Ooh, was Ashvane 4th or 5th? I think it was 4th. Yeah, Ashvane's a good example. Max, what is preventing Blizzard from just playing their raid and realizing, wow, that was just way too hard? I think it's just how they have to deal with the race. Like, basically, they don't have internal testers that, you know, that like play at the level that the Race World First Guilds play at, and it's probably impossible for them to ever have that. So kind of word for word, what they said they've done in the past is they do boss design, they get it ready, they do their best to create bosses. They create them on heroic first, and then they make them mythic, and they make them normal. So the end goal is always a good heroic fight as like the primary focus. And for mythic, they usually, in their words in the past, like depending on how late it is in the raid, they don't do this on earlier bosses. The earlier bosses are not designed for us, but the later bosses are almost always, they're almost always, let's make a good fight, and then let's see what we think is fair, and then let's make it like 20% harder than that, and just see if they can do it. And a lot of times we do things that they think that we're not able to be done, and sometimes they miss too far on that mark, and then they nerf it. And then after, obviously, we kill it, weeks go by, it gets nerfed by gear, and usually if it's too early in the raid, it also gets nerfed pretty quickly. So basically, short answer to your question, they don't have the ability to test what we are capable of. And they're doing something very difficult, which is trying to tune these for the Race to World first, and then continue tuning them as time goes on, whether they need it to make it fair for other people as well. Was Star Augur a fourth boss? Nah. No. When is the raid comp prediction with chat? That will be after our group photo, which I believe is... I mean, I can actually look at the... I can look at the timeline here. Maybe we could have already done some shit. But I feel like yapping is doing shit in a way. Okay, so I was needed for player headshots, but I've already done that. I've gotten that out of the way. And then there is a... Oh, okay, so I'm getting interviewed for a documentary in apparently 8 minutes, and it's only going to be for 15 minutes. So, that should be pretty easy, I suppose. And then after that, I don't have to do anything until the group photo, which I don't see a time for the group photo at the moment. Oh, the group photo would be at 5:10, so that's going to be like 40. So can we do the raid comp stuff in 45 minutes? I think so. I don't know how much you guys want to change, but if not, we can do it after that. Max, do you think they'll do another tuning pass after the reset on Tuesday? No, they never do that. But I think it's likely that they do another tuning pass tomorrow. I would say that the tuning on Friday felt like a little light from what I was expecting. And usually when that's the case, they do some extra stuff on Monday, but sometimes they don't. So who knows? Like I was definitely expecting more notes on Friday, especially in terms of classes that are underperforming for sure. Do these last minute changes affect you guys negatively? I would say the only way the last minute changes affect us negatively is if they nerf something that we were planning on playing a bunch of, and then now they've nerfed them so much that you don't even want to play any of them or something. That doesn't. Usually we're prepared for that. Like, you have to think, like, going into this week with the characters we have prepared and that we are going to play, we have contingency plans, right? So, like, we know what classes are good. We know what classes could get nerfed. We know what classes could get buffed, and all those players, we're not in a. It would be pretty dumb for us to be in a position of like, oh well, if they nerf this thing, then I guess we're fucked. Like obviously that would not be smart. So we have to be prepared for anything. I will tell you that this is like my 13th race to world first or something, and maybe even just looking at the last like, let's just say since Shadowlands. I don't think the Friday or Monday changes before a race have ever where we felt like really fucked by that. Like they usually are. If something's really really good, they're gonna make it like just a little worse. They're not gonna kill it. And if something's like really really bad, they'll usually try to make it average or above average. But they'll almost never. What happens is like something that's really dog shit gets to be the best class in the game because of a buff. At least this close to the raid, like it just doesn't happen. So and I think that's smart that they do that as well. But yeah. Max, can you explain to everyone why Resto Shaman is the best healer? Resto Shaman, isn't that the one you guys put in like B tier or something? Why do people say Resto Shaman's good? Resto Shaman's broken because of Spirit Link. Everyone loves Spirit Link. And you know, Onk Totem. Onk Totem's sick. We love that. Everything's sick. Bloodlust. Yep, you want a Bloodlust in your raid? They can be a dog and the other healers can't be. True. You increase the amount of dogs in your raid. Are the Liquid Boys done with Mythic Zeros? I think, yeah. Have been for days. Thoughts on DK after this final tuning? Well, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how good or bad I think they are, but I haven't played Unholy yet since the changes, but I am definitely sad about Frost. I think Frost DK is just like, for me, just definitely less fun than like old Frost DK. It feels like I lost a fallen homie, you know? Max, do you think Aug Evokers will be viable in Raid this season? I guess you have to wait to find out, man. Or wait, yeah, they're the best. I don't know. Aug's such an interesting class. Max interview time. Are they being... usually they'll come get me. Let me message somebody. Don't even mention Aug, ultra mad. Will you leave the class with a video while you're gone? That would be truly stealing someone's content. Probably not. I'll probably just leave my guy just sitting here maybe. Max, have you tried... Steal the benches content? Wait, I actually kind of love that idea. Just fucking... Well, then I'd be advertising the bench, so I'm conflicted. But I do like the idea of stealing their content. Oh, dude, I guess I could play that new Dratnos video. Dratnos has a video that's, like, basically explaining the race to people. And I listened to the first little bit of it. And... it seemed really good. It's obviously like most of you guys know this stuff, but it's very basic level. Like if you haven't watched the race before, here's kind of how it works. But it's always nice to listen to Dratnos talk. Max, how many Windwalkers this time? Dude, last year had like on some bosses like 5 Mistweaver and Windwalker combinations. I mean, you'd assume a lot, right? Like the healers keep putting Mistweaver as like S tier stackable, at least on Jack's tier list. So I guess maybe you'd assume to see a couple of those, or maybe one. And then Windwalker seems to be ranked pretty highly for people, I guess. Maybe you'll see some of those too. Hey Max, do you recruit new players every tier? I think every single tier ever we have recruited someone new. Yeah. So we've recruited some new people. Max once said that if Gambit ever comes back, he'd be a full-time Mythic Plus player. Did I say that? I didn't say I might. I said I would. I mean, shit, I might, dude. I guess. For me, doing Mythic Plus, in my opinion, like, if I'm going to, like, go hard on a Mythic Plus season, which I have done, like, within the last few years. I've, like, no life this game for a couple months. For me, it's... Okay, this is going to be kind of a hot take, but, like, some Mythic Plus seasons can be, like, a little higher, like, maybe a 9 out of 10 or whatever, but, like, basically... Actually, just forget ranking it out of 10. Most Mythic Plus seasons are, like, the fucking same thing. Like, ideally, you get, like, a couple banger dungeons. Some of them aren't going to be awesome. And then most of them are just, like, repeatable and you can kind of make it work or whatever. Like, for me, I've done a lot of Mythic Plus seasons, and I very rarely am like, I don't want to play because of these maps. I am motivated to do Mythic Plus purely based on how fun the class I am currently playing is to play. And if I'm super into it, I'm having insane fun, and no matter what... One second. No matter what, I'm going to keep playing it. But like the season map pool could be bad and I would still play just as much. Like I'm not motivated by map pool, basically. I'm motivated purely by how fun a class is to play over and over again, which makes sense because like Mythic Plus is just about, you have to be really into playing your class over and over again, right? Like that's it. I've never seen a Mythic Plus dungeon pool where it's like, dude, I really want to play my class, but this pool sucks, so I'm quitting. Or like, man, I really don't really like this class, but the pool fucking owns, so I'm just going to play because of the dungeon pool. It's like the dungeon pool is so secondary. One second. They said they're ready for me, so I'm going to just deliberately steal Dratnos' content. While I go get shot. Ooh, and Dratnos put out a Manaforge Omega raid comp prediction. We could let's look at the let's look at that one actually. You guys can look at no, if I let you guys watch this now, is this going to just heavily influence what you guys vote for your community one? Probably. Actually, I'll give you that opportunity, so yeah, whatever. We'll just watch it.
Everybody, my name is Dratnos and welcome to
just stealing. Actually, no, I don't want to steal his content that he just came out. You guys can click on that if you want to. I'm actually going to steal his other video that has already been out for a while, so I feel less bad about it. I don't want to, like, kill his algorithm or something. Here we go.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dratnos, and today I'm giving you a viewer's guide to the Race to World First. I'm going to explain pretty much everything about how the Race to World First works, what you can expect to be seeing on each day of the race, and just sort of explaining how it all works in case you're somebody who's interested or somewhat interested in watching it, but there's parts of it that you don't get or that you would like explained to you, such as the head start of the American realms, the why splits are happening, how splits work, what's the point of them, and why aren't the guilds going into Mythic, all these sorts of common questions that you might have if you tune into the Race to World First at various times or that you might see in Twitch chats. So first of all, what is the race? Well, there's the new raid coming out on the 12th in America, 13th in EU, 14th in China. And that is, the goal is to clear the raid on the hardest difficulty, Mythic, as quickly as possible. And whichever guild does that, they win the Race to World First. Now, there are several guilds competing for this. The last 10 races have been won by either Liquid or Echo. I think it's like a 5-5 split or something of the last 10. So two extremely closely matched guilds. Method have been arguably ramping, although they sort of ramped into third a couple expansions ago, and they're still third. But maybe they're ramping to a closer third, or maybe this is the tier that they're going to break in to that top 2 or that top 1 spot. There have been some roster changes that potentially give them hope there. And then there are 2 very strong Chinese guilds as well, JTH and Hot Pot Hero, who also are they're playing with a longer day disadvantage than even the European guilds, but also potentially strong. Not a region that I know a lot about, how their rosters are looking going into this tier. So this could be the tier that there's a surprise, win or strong performance out of a Chinese guild. But I don't know. I don't know anything about the roster changes there, whereas I do know what's been going on with the rosters of Liquid, Echo, and Method, which basically all 3 of which have gained some stuff, and then Liquid and Echo have also lost some stuff. Method maybe arguably only has gotten a little bit better, whereas Liquid and Echo have both gained and lost strong players going into this tier. And then you can see, so this is the rankings from last year, last Race to World First. A bunch of other guilds up here in the top 10. Guilds like Instant Dollars, Fat Shark Yes, really, really good guilds that are extremely good at the video game. And but they're not going for World First, right? These guys are playing for 6 hours a night, 7 days a week. Sounds like a lot in some cases, or those sorts of hours. But they're not playing for 16 hours a day or 14 hours a day until it dies, right? There are people who have jobs in those guilds. There are not people who actively have jobs during the Race to World First in these guilds. Their entire job is winning the Race to World First, at least during these couple of weeks. And then other strong guilds, more, now we're getting down to the realm of strong, 6-day, 5-day, 4-day guilds up here. There's my guild. In 17th out of last tier. So this is the environment of the Race to World First, at least with the guilds that we're going to be watching going into this. Most of the discussion in this video from now on, we're going to talk about really what Method, Echo, and Liquid are doing, because when I talk about the Race to World First, it's mostly their actions that we're going to be considering here. Although it is worth noting that especially in the first couple of days, often you'll see guilds like Instant Dollars actually be at the top of the leaderboard because they'll finish their gearing faster because they are doing less total work to gear characters. So speaking of which, that's basically the main idea of the start of the Race to World First, is it's not to just run in there and try and kill the last boss on the first day, because presumably you're going to need a lot of gear. The last time there's been a tier where you could kill the boss on the first day was back in the Legion expansion, so many expansions ago now, back in the Emerald Nightmare. That was a raid where you could walk in and you could have cleared it on your first day without going to sleep, without getting any extra gear. Ever since then, that basically would never have worked. You pretty much always needed to gear up to kill the last boss. So that's the idea of what the guilds are doing, and in fact, what the guilds have been doing since the end of the last race. So over the last few months, they've been preparing a bunch of characters, and this is each of their raiders will have multiple, like double-digit amount of characters ready. For some people, it's going to be all copies of the same class. For some people, it's going to be a variety of classes. Tank players will typically have all 6 tanks prepared with multiple copies of the tanks that they think are most likely to get used. Healer players will often have a couple different healers prepared, although some healers will be very, if somebody is only playing priest, they might only have priest prepared, and then there will be some healers that okay, this healer has a couple evokers, a couple mistweavers, a couple druids, those kind of things, and is ready to play whichever of them the guild wants. And then among the DPS players, most of them are going to have a main that they're going to have a lot of copies of that class. People like I'm Fired Up, Mage from Liquid, is going to have a zillion mages, and then he actually has a couple of other alts, although some of those are just kind of for fun characters that are other classes, but he's overwhelmingly likely going to be playing mage, so he has a bunch of mages ready, and that's been sort of the process of the last few months, has been making sure that those characters have best in slot gear from last tier to bring into this tier. Now, obviously, last tier gear it's pretty weak compared to this upcoming tier's gear. If you have last tier, like good tier gear from last tier, I've actually already upgraded several of the pieces here in this first week, but 684 item level stuff, right, is what you could get out of last tier, and even out of normal raid, even out of Raid Finder, LFR, you can upgrade that gear up to 691, right? But the idea is that these characters, these 10, 15, I don't know what the exact number of character requirement is going to be this tier, but it's been, over this expansion, it's been in those mid to high double digits in the previous tiers. Those characters being strong will make the split runs easier. So what are split runs, and why are they going to happen, and when are they going to happen? So the basic idea is that when the servers come up on the first week of the Race to World First, the goal is to get characters as geared as possible, so that you can then be strong for when it's time to switch over to Mythic Raid. So on Tuesday for America, and actually, so the servers will probably come up for America sometime around 10 a.m. to noon on Tuesday, and then they'll probably be playing until midnight, 1 a.m., something like that, there on that first day, just gearing up. Meanwhile, for Europe, the servers come up on Wednesday at 5 a.m. So the European guilds, they don't have the kind of RNG of how long the maintenance lasts. It almost always actually happens before the servers come back up before the reset. And then that reset happens at 5 a.m., which is about 10-ish hours after the North American servers typically come up, but obviously that depends on how long the North American maintenance goes. And then those guilds typically will play for a lot longer of a first day, because of course you're starting at 5 a.m. that day. You're not going to be starting at 5 a.m. the next couple of days. You're going to be pushing that start time back. So you have a longer first day potentially for those guilds. And so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, some of Friday will probably be splits. Maybe all of Friday, maybe it depends on that. And then what those split runs are is they're just going to run Heroic Raid multiple times with each of those different characters. And what they'll actually want to do is split into helper runs. So runs that might comprise 10 guildies and 20 helpers from the community that they're paying with gold to show up, help fight the bosses, and then pass on all the loot, and then they're going to get paid in gold to do that. The ratio might change. In some tiers, guilds have been able to run as many as 4 splits simultaneously, or as few as 2 or even 1, and had to condense down to just guildies, depending on how difficult the boss is. Often that happens for the last boss. But for a lot of the bosses in the middle of the raid, what they're going to do is maybe we're going to skip some of the early bosses that have absolutely nothing that's important, right? If they look at Plexus Sentinel and are like, okay, we don't actually care about getting this gear so much, they'll create a lockout that has Plexus Sentinel, maybe Lumathar dead or whatever, depending on if these bosses have items that are targeted. Sometimes there are good trinkets and stuff off the first few bosses, good weapons. I think there is a good weapon off of this first or second boss. Yeah, okay. Soulbinder has the Void Glass Spire, which I suspect is going to be something that they care about. So anyways, they'll make a lockout, and what they'll do is probably up through maybe Fractalus, maybe Nexus King, depending on how hard these are. They will have those maybe 3, maybe 2 simultaneous runs going with some guildies and some helpers, and they'll just kill all the bosses, and they won't know if their characters in these runs are their mains yet or are not. So Fired Up will be in there on one of his mages, and if that run drops a lot of good mage loot at the end of the run, or a couple hours later, because you have 4 hours after the first boss dies before the loot becomes untradeable. So that's part of why the efficiency is so important here, is it gets you even more information before you have to commit to a decision. At some point, though, they'll look at it and be like, okay, this run dropped a lot of... it dropped the 2 trinkets that this character wants and the weapon that they want and some good off pieces for them. We're going to trade all that to that character. That character's going to become Fired Up's main. And now we've figured out which mage is his main. All of his other mages are now alts, and their sole purpose is to help do the runs to create the gear for the other people's characters. And by doing this, you basically can make it so that all of the good loot from a heroic raid, or almost all of it, will go to each person. So if you were raiding heroic normally, right, if you're somebody in a normal raiding guild and you're just like, hey, we're going to clear heroic, and you clear all of heroic, you might get 1 item that you want to drop that week and then 1 item the next week. By doing it this way, by running 15, 20 splits of Heroic Manaforge Omega, they can make sure that every single person in the raid that has 1 or even multiple characters, in the case of tanks, in the case of multi-classers, they can funnel them all the gear that they'd want. In some cases, you're going to be missing like 1 piece, right? It's going to be like, oh, okay, the 2 trinkets dropped and a weapon, but somehow this run didn't drop I don't know. There's not really even anything that you'd miss on in this raid, because there's not very rare loot. Maybe the boots. We didn't get heroic boots for this character in this run, so that character is missing those. Maybe we need to then go get them from normal. And so after they do all that work in the heroic, there will then be normals. Sometimes you see normals done before heroics as well. It's usually not too important, because there's really not too much loot that is actually important from normal. And then what also can happen is normal and heroic Dimensius can be farmed for all of the Hungering Void curios, and you can just put 4 pieces on anybody you want. So every single character will have 4 piece by trading them the curios that drop, plus like they only need to get 1 piece of tier from the rest of the raid, and then they get handed all this loot from Dimensius if it's their Dimensius run. That's usually one of the last things to happen in splits, so something like Thursday, you might see the heroic Dimensiuses happening. All of this happens over the first couple of days, and very little Mythic progress is going to happen during this time. In theory, there might be some benefits to running some early Mythic bosses, but that's fallen out of favor in the top guilds, because actually the early Mythic bosses are often now optimized to just set up great vault slots in the event that the race goes to a second week, which it usually, but not always, will. Okay, so we've run our splits. One complication this tier as well is Tazavesh hard mode exists with an extra piece of myth loot at the end of it. For a lot of guilds, that's a big deal. For the Race to World First, it's interesting because it might not be worth the time. In most guilds, saying, hey, go do this at some point outside of raid is a really efficient thing to do. If there's good source of loot, right? Even M+ from outside of raid, it's a great thing to tell people to do. In the Race to World First, there is no outside of raid time. So you have to decide as a guild that, like, okay, we are going to spend 3 of our hours having everybody run hard mode Tazavesh. And is that a worthwhile trade-off? My suspicion is it's probably yes. The gear there is probably worthwhile, and the shot at the Deathless loot is probably worthwhile, but that might be something that happens later in the reset. Because one other thing that goes on with the Race to World First is there is a strong desire after all the splits happen to still conserve any resources you can for as long as possible. So after all the splits happen, after all the farm is done, progression on Mythic will start, right? And at some point, you're going to reach a boss that is hard enough that it's like, okay, now we've got to potentially think about spending our Sparks of Starlight. But we don't want to do that until we have to, right? We want to kill as many bosses as possible without using our Sparks of Starlight, without potentially breaking to go do all of our M+, or go to do our hard mode Tazaveshes, right? We want to kill the easy bosses, particularly because we don't want to spend our Spark and then kill a boss and have that drop the thing in that slot. And it's like, oops, I wish I'd actually not crafted into that slot. Or and you know, in the guild you can maybe juggle it around, so it's like, okay, everybody but one person can craft with that might want this item that drops from the raid, but it's still more efficient to kill the boss first and then send your sparks afterwards. But on the other hand, maybe sending the sparks means you kill the boss 10 pulls earlier, and so that is always an interesting piece of tension, of push and pull in the race, is when to craft. And especially this tier, we're going to have our second half spark during the first week of the race, and then our second full spark, right? So I guess our third half spark, and then our second full spark during the second week of the race. So if you're somebody who wants to craft a two-hander, crafting a two-hander is extremely efficient in terms of the amount of gilded crests per item level that you get. Although it does make it harder to get two embellishments on that are good. You might have to use like last tier bracers to do that. So all of this is some interesting tension of what is the best decision to make with your sparks. When do you decide to use it? The guilds have a strong knee-jerk desire, knee-jerk reaction to delay all of those decisions as long as possible. When we do get to the second reset, people will delay picking items out of their great vaults for as long as possible. They'll wait for as much of reclear to be done, and even potentially progression, right? You open your great vault, and there's big upgrade shoulders, medium upgrade chest piece out of the vault. You're going to try and wait to kill all the bosses that drop shoulders and chest pieces, and if there's a boss that's like the one you're currently progressing and it drops one of those things, you're going to try and wait to see if you kill it as well before you potentially choose that item. Unless one of the geniuses that are looking at the spreadsheet look at it and decide, okay, well, this shoulder will go to this other person if it drops, so you are safe to choose it out of your vault. And that's a big part of the Race to World First, is all of those cascading domino decisions about, well, if this person's main is this character, then that means the other loot will go to this person, and that will make it them their main, and all the ramifications that cascade down within that 4-hour window while gear is still tradable. All those decisions about who can take which Great Vault is handled by a team of analysts that are looking at it and have a really thorough understanding of how much DPS each class is gaining from each thing, and which ones they're thinking are most likely to get used on which bosses. All of that prep work has been happening over the past few months, going back to when PTR testing of the bosses was available. PTR testing was a really important time, and is a really important time in the Race to World First. You get 1 hour on each of the Mythic bosses, which is super important, but something that's actually hugely important for the Race to World First is the normal raid weekend. There's a weekend when the entire raid is open on normal, and the Race to World First guilds will go in there and they will test with every single class and spec that they know how much damage they can do on all these different bosses. They'll practice different Mythic strategies and pretend the boss is on Mythic on each of these things. And so they're going to come into this first week with weak auras ready for every boss, and then obviously those might not survive contact with the enemy and they might need to get updated, but they'll have an initial plan there. And they'll also have an initial strategy that's designed for each boss. They'll have spent a lot of time practicing it, even just trying to set it up with training dummies and world markers in people's garrisons. All that kind of stuff has happened so that even though you're pulling the boss for the first time, you're giving yourself the best chance to actually have, to kill it in as few pulls as possible. Because, wiping on a heroic split, wiping on an early Mythic boss, all of that will cost you time that could then be converted to more pulls on the later bosses. Now, the North American guilds do get a head start. Liquid, I guess the North American guild, there's one North American competitor and sort of two European competitors. And the North American guild, Liquid, also has another advantage, which is they're the only guild in the region that's like paying for helpers, whereas Echo and Method sort of cannibalize each other. And so prices tend to be higher to get people to help you run those heroic and normal splits for the European guilds than Liquid, because they're fighting for the same pool of potential helpers, and there's some more competition over there. Either way, the guilds will probably finish all those chores, all that gearing, sometime around the 14th, 15th, maybe 16th at the latest on that first reset, and then they'll venture into Mythic. In the meantime, guilds like Instant Dollars, Fat Shark, yes, my guild potentially, we might have finished our splits on Thursday, on Wednesday. There are going to be some guilds that go straight into Mythic at the start on Tuesday, melee mechanics.
Yo, we can come back to this, but I got done with my my little interview, and it was faster, so I think I'll have enough time to do the raid comp stuff now, I think. Let me double check though. I know I'm interrupting your video. I'm sorry. It's a great video. You should continue watching it if it's great. We might even watch more of it later. Actually, that's really unlikely, but you should watch it. Here, I'll link it, and that's the timestamp. But you can find it. We were learning. Dude, he's so good at, like, helping newer people understand the thing. New people, you know. Okay, let's look at your all's little raid comp. Chat predictions. Let's find this. And let's not leak anything. That would be so sweet if I didn't do that. Alright, you guys, I'm just warning you, you're going to get flashbanged. So just go ahead and get ready for that. It's not going to be that bad, though. I'm not going to cover the whole screen. Alright, here we go. The final time you guys get to update this. Okay. Where is the display capture? Okay. All right. Here's Nerebar Palace. This was 3 weeks. This is for the last boss. Okay. This was 3 weeks pre-raid, 1 week pre-raid, and actual. You guys got 16 right in Nerebar Palace. Overall, pretty fucking good. Okay. Down to Casino Raid. You guys had multiple predictions, and the actual comp, you only got 12 things right. So and that's about as many total raid buffs that are even in the game. So that low key last tier, you guys kind of missed crazy style. But also no one was really guessing the amount of monks would be good. So I mean, but that's it. You should have guessed that. You know, you missed. Happens. All right. Here we go. 1 day pre-raid. Looks like as of there has been some tuning since the last time, but you guys were pretty sold on Prot Warrior, Prot Paladin. You were really sold on Warlocks. You had 3 of those. Last time you had a Rainbow Healer comp for the first time in a while. Like, I don't think that's actually happened in a while. Oh no, I mean, we looked at it. I think it was Sarkareth, Abyss, where there was one. Okay. So I'll give you guys an opportunity to tell me what, and we may have to do this in 2 parts, but this is the actual last one. So I'm going to go ahead and just copy everything you guys have there before we add in anything. Don't say remove this, add this. All we're doing right now is removing. What do you guys want to remove? What do you guys want to remove? Any removers? Seeing a lot of remove a mage. Some people are saying removing 2 mages. That may be a little extra. I'll save you from that. We're gonna want Arcane Intellect in our comp chat. Okay, I'm seeing remove DK. I'm seeing remove mage. All right, we can always add it back, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do that. I'm just gonna remove a mage. You guys seem to be a fan of that. What is the next thing to remove, chat? Seeing a lot of remove DK. People are saying remove Warlock. Remove Shadow. Remove Evoker. Damn, you guys are actually really split. Okay, shit. We might have to localize this then. I mean, I guess I could remove all the things that you guys... There's no... Or do I have you vote on removing? No, we can always remove. So there's a lot of people saying removing DK. Again, you can always add it back in later. There's people saying remove Warlock. We may want to add Warlock in back later. We can do that. So we'll go down to 2 Warlocks. We went down to 1 DK. People are saying remove Shadow, remove our Druid. Ooh, you know what? Let's go away from DPS for now. Does anyone want to change the healer comp? Let's localize it. Let's try to get a little bit more less spread out, or a little less spread out here. Any healer removers? Any healer removers? Okay, we're gonna pull this because it's already just so insanely spread out. What to remove? Man, chat is hella confused. Actually, you guys are like have no consensus whatsoever between you. What to remove? First off, there's nothing. Second, there is Mistweaver, there's Priest, there's our Druid, and there is Prez. Okay, 1 minute pull, starting it. Also, during this poll, probably a good time to remind you guys, there is a Google Doc or like a Google form you can fill out that we're doing, and we are having people guess the comp. If you want to just send in your own comp, we have the ability. We are doing that. I don't have the link on me right now, but that's a thing. Then we're going to look at that after the raid. We'll just link that after so people are focused here. All right, what to remove? Ooh, okay, so 33% of the chat wants to remove nothing. 37% of the chat wants to remove Preservation Evoker. And okay, so no one wants to remove Mistweaver and Priest. Almost 0 votes for those. So people are really locked in on Priest and Mistweaver. Okay. Damn, removing nothing and Prez are like really close. Okay, so I have to ask you guys one question. For all the people who are fans of removing, what would you want to add? Is there like a something that you guys are like, I want to add this thing? People are saying second Priest, a lot of shamans, second Mistweaver. Okay, by far Resto Shaman is the #1 thing you guys are typing. Okay, so I'm gonna do a simple poll. Prez was the thing that you guys voted to remove, if anything. So I'm going to just simply ask this question. Do we play Prez or Shaman? We can do other healing roles after this if you'd like, but that seems to clearly be the thing. Okay, so chat is big time on the Shaman train. Wow. Damn, you guys were like so off of Shaman this whole season. What happened? Like almost nothing changed. There's like one undocumented bug fix. You guys are crazy on Shaman now. It's like B tier on all the tier lists. What happened? You guys found a new build or something? What's up? Found some shit? All right. Okay. So we added we overwhelmingly wanted Shaman instead of Prez. You guys did not vote for Mistweaver or Priest to be changed at all. So I'm just going to ask Resto Druid or Prez. Okay. And this will just finish up the healers. Which class do you guys want to keep? Okay, largely our Druid. Okay. Okay, so healers are done for now. Question. Do you guys want to change your tanks at all? So if you guys change your tanks, since we're done with healing and no one was advocating for Holy Paladin, you'd have to bring a Ret if we got rid of Prot Pal. And we'd have to add a DPS warrior if you guys wanted to get Prot Warrior. In case. I'm just asking while we're here. Tanks are good. Tanks are fine. Lock the tanks in. Okay. There's some people advocating for like brew or vengeance. But I mean, largely you guys are like lock it the fuck in. So we're gonna lock that in. All right. So, what do we got here? So we have a couple more spots, to add stuff. What do you guys? Does anyone want to? Before we add anything else, any droppers from what we have right here? So, Havoc is a raid buff. Rogue is a raid buff. Ellie is no longer a raid buff with a Resto Shaman, for what it's worth. From what you guys picked. Seems like remove Ellie is the vast majority of things here. So I'm going to remove Ellie real quick. Can certainly always add it back later. And then any other droppers? Remove one evoker. Okay. But we're still keeping in the one evoker, I guess. So if you're dropping one evoker, why would you drop two? Right? Unless you really value the 60-minute raid buff, which I would argue is like the weakest part of evoker. So do you want to drop both of them, or do you want to only have one, I guess? They have so much utility, you still want just the one, but you think you only need one of the utility. That's fine. Okay, that's fine. W. And that's interesting. Do you think that evoker is Aug or Dev? Because if it's Dev, it kind of makes sense you could slot in one somewhere, but if it's Aug, they kind of go up to 2 and then 3 is bad, right? So it's like if you think they're Aug, you'd want 0 or 2, not 1. But you guys think they're Dev. Chat's big Dev angle. Okay, we're playing Dev. A lot of people are like, got a PI Dev. All right, cool. So we're keeping Dev. So that's we'll let you still put evoker because they could be both, but you know. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots to add for now. We can always remove once we get closer to the end. What do you guys want to add? What is like the first thing you guys are like, we need this, or we need more of these? Okay, that's THD, by the way. You guys need DK and Warlock? Seems to be the majority of posters. Was that his mating call? Another Shadow. Okay. We literally just removed third Warlock and second DK. Is the consensus, guys, that we add both a second DK and a third Warlock back to the comp? Is that a yes or a no angle? Just to save some time. Nope, it's split. No 2DK. Okay, what about third Warlock? Are you guys third? Let's remove DK. Third Warlock enjoyers, yes or no? Okay, also super split. Okay, I'm just going to pull what you guys want to add from all the things you're saying, because you guys are just so undecided. Okay, here we go. What add? We'll just do one at a time. Lock. So for now, this will be third lock. Second DK. I believe you guys are saying second priest, a lot of you. What else would you guys want to add? Oh, people are saying mage in chat. Okay, we're going to add a mage back. We also removed that, but that's fine. And what else? I think those two are just like way higher than everything else. So we're just going to put those on the poll real quick. All right, polls out. Polls out. Wow, you guys are so undecided. So you guys really think that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that there's like a lot of competition for 5 raid spots. It's actually historically pretty significant. That is not usually how that is. I guess the interesting thing is that of all the things you guys are suggesting, all those classes do different things really well. So like it could be like fight specific too. But this is for the end boss, right? Okay, so third lock wins by a lot. So we'll add third warlock. And then we're going to redo this poll again. We wanted Boomy. Okay, I'll put Boomy on the poll this time. This is Dimensius? Always is. Always the last boss, yep. Okay. What ad? We have second DK. We have second mage. We have second priest. We have fourth warlock. And we have Moonkin, which people keep asking for. Just put druid, so it could be feral or Moonkin. Nah, I keep roles separate. You guys can vote in feral if you want it, though. No Ellie Sham? There are some Ellie enjoyers. We could add Ellie back. You gain value with extra shamans, right? You don't gain an extra Sky Fury, but you gain a fair amount of good stuff. Like with only one evoker in the comp right now, obviously only one druid and one shaman, your extra wind rush you're adding alone is like definitely value, right? Okay, second mage wins by a decent amount there. Okay. With fourth warlock coming in second and Moonkin coming in third, or I guess Moonkin is tied with second Death Knight. Okay. All right. New poll. What ad? Second DK. Moonkin. Second priest. No one's asking for third mage. Fourth lock. And Ellie. Still have multiple spots, guys. If you're like, there's a class you're not mentioning, I can only put 5 on the poll, man. So. Okay, looks like second DK is gonna win, but I'll give Ellie some more time to cook. Chat, y'all are all over the place. I mean, okay, low key, I'm not saying you guys are right or wrong. Isn't it a good thing? Isn't chat being all over the place from like 5 raid spots to the end a good sign? Yeah. That you guys think a bunch of things could be good? Okay, second DK looks like it's locked in. Okay, we have 2 more spots, but again, we still can make some alterations, so. Okay. 2 more spots. What are we looking at for like melee and range split? That's kind of interesting. Not to like gaslight you guys into what you want to pick, but 1, 2, 3, 4 melee DPS and 1 melee healer. I'm pretty sure that is like, not to say this is necessarily a bad thing, but that is 4 less melee, including melee healers. Like 4 less people in melee than we've had in like the last 3 raids. So melee is going to be like super barren. Let's see. DPS warrior is definitely on there, says someone in chat. Okay. New what ad thing? Poll. What ad? Looks like Ellie's probably going to win based on the last vote, but let me add what you guys want. So 30k. Fourth lock. Ellie, 30k, fourth lock. Second priest, you guys have posted. And let's see. Let's read chat a little more, see if something belongs on there. Rogue. A lot of rogue enjoyers. Second rogue. Like I said, Moonkin people were pretty high on earlier. I'll put Moonkin back on there. Definitely, like, Moonkin almost won one of the votes, so. Okay, looks like Ellie's winning by a lot here, but I'll give it some more time to cook. So that's kind of an interesting play. Like, if you are adding Ellie to this comp, just looking from like a comp maker's perspective, because you already have the shaman thing, you're basically putting a lot of value in the second Windrush, which interestingly Moonkin also like kind of covers with the second roar. But like if you're picking 3 warlocks, so past 1 warlock, you're clearly like, we think warlock's good, either because of porting or they sim really well or something. It's interesting you would choose an Ellie over a 4th warlock unless you were saying, which isn't necessarily wrong, right? Or a second mage, you can make that argument. That you don't want too much of one thing, which is sometimes true, or you're putting a lot of stock in the movement speed. Maybe we're just hedging our bets. Ooh, should you guys hedge your bets or go for gold? You know? You guys are looking for a comeback after last year. All right, Ellie wins. So Ellie's back. Okay, we have one more spot, but you guys as a hive mind can choose to change things after that as well. I'll give you a few chances. All right, so let's do a poll. What ad? All right, so I'm seeing a lot of second evoker people now. Seeing a lot of second priest for the 3rd PI. Seeing a lot of DPS warrior. Seeing a lot of rogue. And then there's one more. I'm just trying to see if there's anything. Windwalker. I have some Windwalker enjoyers. Put Windwalker on there. All right, so DPS war, rogue, Windwalker, second priest, second evoker. That's what you guys are voting. Now keep in mind, if you guys are looking at this and you're like, this is so wrong. I know so much better than chat. And you guys are all wrong and I'm right. If that's you, the pinned comment in the stream right now, you can actually go to that Google Doc and just submit your own raid comp and we'll look at it after the raid. Og and Time Spiral. Yeah, I mean, you never know. It looks like second evoker and DPS warrior are very close. Max, Drano's just released a video with his prediction. Maybe compare after chat is done. That sounds very smart, yeah. But I feel like we have to fully let the chat be done, because if we watch the Dranos video, he's just going to gaslight them into just picking what he picks, because he has so much aura. You know? Okay, second evoker won. So we dropped second evoker, Ellie, second DK, third warlock, and second mage, just to add back second mage, third warlock, second evoker, Ellie, and second DK. Okay, I mean, but at least you guys got to think about it again. All right. If there's anything else you guys feel like is wrong, I'm giving you a chance here. The poll will be what you guys think should be removed or no changes, okay? What do? So no changes is first option. And then what do you guys want removed? People are saying remove Resto Shaman now. Resto Shaman is wrong. Okay. Remove Arsham. People are saying remove, what else? You don't have to worry about adding anything. This is purely remove. Okay, remove Warlock. People want to remove one Warlock. People want to remove... Just waiting for it. Evoker. Okay. And people want to remove Ellie again. Ellie and Arsham in the same remove vote. Okay. Okay, chat. Chat is on the remove Resto Shaman train. It was the first thing you guys wanted to add. Maybe you're just like, you know what? We had it right last time. We had it right with the DPS. We must be right with the healers. Okay, remove Resto Shaman. Interestingly enough, third Warlock looks like it's also going to beat no changes. So I might remove both just to save some time here. All right. People are big fans of removing our Shaman. Okay. Okay, and Warlock, removing Warlock also beat no changes, so we're going to move that too. All right, we'll do healer first. Guys, what is the fourth healer you want to add? By the way, it literally can be Resto Shaman if you think all these people are wrong, right? You can add Resto Shaman back. You can add Prez. You can add whatever. You add whatever you want. Okay. Okay. Healer add. Okay. We're going to do second Mistweaver from what people in chat are saying. We're going to add Prez. We're going to add Resto Shaman. Second Priest, people are saying. And I guess at this point, do you guys want me to put second Druid as an option or Holy Pally? H Pally is an option? Okay. All right. W. Pulls up. Oh, you guys are close. It's pretty close. Looks like second Mistweaver is currently outpacing, but they're very close. Like Prez, Resto Shaman, and second Mistweaver are all extremely close. I mean, no matter what we end up doing here, there's going to be at least like 70% of the chat is unhappy with it because it's not what the correct one wasn't what they picked. So, oh, Arsham's currently back in the lead. This is how it works, chat. It's a democracy. You guys are a hive mind. Bro, there's no way. Oop, coming down to the wire. Second Mistweaver, Resto Shaman. Resto Shaman won by 3 votes. All right, Resto Shaman right back. All right, guys. DPS ad. DPS ad. What are we adding? What to add? Pulling it up. What DPS ad? So third Warlock. We have Warrior DPS. We have second Rogue. We have Windwalker. And what else? Boomy, Moonkin, DK. It's pretty close between the last one, but I think there's more Moonkins than other stuff. I don't know. I honestly want to just have it just be like second Rogue, Warrior, and third Warlock. Those are definitely the most likely or most common from what you guys are saying. Shadow, second Shadow enjoyers, sure. Enough people are saying that. Okay, we're doing it. Last one. Third Warlock looks like it's winning. All right. Okay, so you guys are chilling. This is what we're keeping. All right, now if you're looking at this and you're like, God, chat is so dumb and I'm so not dumb. I'm so smart. We do have a thing you can do to post your own comp that will check after the raid. I don't know where this link is though. I might have to find it. I don't even know where this would be. Where the fuck? Oh, Frank messaged it to me. I can probably find it from his DMs. Yep, there it is. Okay, here's the... Let me double check that this is right. Because I can't show it on screen because it just like shows your email for some reason. But here we go. So here's the link. All right, go to that form. So what you'll see is there's going to be an image option for posting your raid comps. In my opinion, probably the easiest way to do that, or at least if we have to pick one to standardize it, is to go to Wowhead, go to Tools, and then go to Raid Composition, and then you can make your own raid comp from there. How I'm looking at it is by role. So, for example, you would have to specify between Feral and Moonkin. However, in my opinion, you would not have to specify between AUG and Dev. You would not have to specify between Marks and BM, but you would have to specify between survival and either of those two things. Role specific, that matters. The tiebreakers for this will likely come down maybe to spec, but also there's some options on there for, I believe, the like you have to pick the winner of the race and as a potential tiebreaker, and then also the day it dies. These are just potential tiebreakers. It's mostly going to be for the comp. No link for YouTube. I'll put it in there. Sorry. How many pulls? Yeah. Y'all are just letting people upload any pictures? Yeah, I mean, obviously people could like post some bird cocks or something, but like we're just going to like filter those out when we look through them. So it's not a big deal. All right. So I'm interested in looking at, we're doing our group photo soon. I am going to look at the Dratnos video. So now that you guys have posted your raid comp, let's see how that differs from Dr. Atnos. Max, you leaked the hell out of your jersey earlier, by the way. Oh, that's fine. Here we go.
My comp prediction for the Race World First tier for Mana Forge Omega. So last tier, kind of didn't know what was going on. I said as much in my raid comp prediction video there. I was like, oh, I missed some stuff that was getting pretty good. This time around, even though I didn't do the PTR testing this time around, I do feel a little bit more confident that I have some handle of what's going to be good this tier and what's not. So let's start off by talking about what this tier.
Show the video? Oh, I'm not showing the video.
Last tier, there was some bosses that were really good for some specs.
That's crazy.
Stickbunk Junker, really good for
balance.
balance.
I'm going to go grab a snack real quick.
One Arm Bandit, really good for Shadow Priest and to a lesser extent Affliction Warlock. Last two bosses, really strong for Fire Mage, although how much you actually needed one of those. You know, Gallywix, you could have killed with a ham sandwich, but the mages being super safe were really good for it as well. Muggsy, the blinking into and out of the cages thing, was a cool strategy that mages let you do. Didn't need to do it to kill the boss, but it was definitely strong. This tier, I think there's also going to be some element of certain specs being good for certain bosses, although some of the specs that look good for specific bosses also just look really strong overall. So things that this tier, there are some specs that might be experts at, is situations like Spread Cleave. We have specs like Shadow Priest, like some of the Warlock specs, like Ellie Shaman, especially if there's a prio target that is separated from some ads. That can be a really strong spot for actually Ellie Shaman and the Warlock specs and the Shadow Priest in those situations. And then the other thing is damage amplification windows. There are a few bosses that there's been some discussion around the power of bursting into a damage amplification window, including both of the last two bosses potentially having pretty important burn windows. So specs that do their damage heavily loaded into their cooldowns might be really strong beneficiaries of that. Dev Evokers with a PI, DPS Death Knights, stuff like that could be really strong for arcane mages instead of, say, frost mages, which you might play on a regular fight. All of that is a strong consideration for this tier. So
I came back before he put a single one on.
I'm going to try and make a sort of generic comp, but I will try and mention those sorts of changes that you might see depending on what the boss calls for. So up first is the raid buffs. First of all, we're going to need a Hunter. Hunters don't look particularly good, but we're going to need one for Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is, in theory, something you could drop, but not really. I think the most likely spec to see play is probably the BM. MM looks also pretty weak. Serve actually is sitting better than both of them, but it's a melee Hunter. Maybe you play Serve, but I think BM is the most likely one to see. Either way, obviously they can swap between them. Rogue's also looking pretty aggressively mid. Sub maybe the strongest one, especially on some of those damage amp windows. But yeah, you need a rogue for Atrophic Poison. So all of that is going to be true there. Then the other raid buffs that we need. DK famously doesn't have a raid buff. They do have anti-magic zones, but those stack differently than raid buffs, right? It's not a thing where the first DK brings it and the second DK doesn't. The first two DKs both bring AMZ. It's been changed going into this tier in a way that will be a nerf in almost all cases for blood DKs, and a nerf in most cases for DPS DKs as well, with some potential buff situations in very high-end Mythic progression, which is what the Race World First is, so it might be good for them. The cooldown of AMZ was also nerfed, which in some cases is actually good news if you're that class, because it sort of makes you want to be stacked a little bit more. If you want to have an AMZ every 2 minutes, you used to need 1 DK for that, and now you need 2, so in a sense, maybe that increases the value or the likelihood of seeing multiple DKs. All of that's an interesting discussion, but the main reason I think you're going to see a lot of DKs is they look like they're doing a lot of damage. So I'm going to put 2 into our comp for now. Frost looking like the spec that you'd probably
so far,
this
is the same as the chat list, right?
And yeah, both looking extremely solid. Now, something that Frost actually does well is getting buffed by an Augmentation Evoker. Not a class that we saw, or spec that we saw for the last 2 tiers, really. We saw some guilds play a little bit of it in Nerebar, and basically nobody touched the thing in Liberation of Undermine. But there have been stealthy buffs to it, and the Chrono Warden build with the set bonus this time around can actually pretty easily maintain Presciences and Ebon Mites on 3 targets, with 4 being something that's either RNG procs or managing the proximity buffing, which is cringe, but realistically you probably have a easy access to auging 3 people of your choice for any given point in a fight in a sort of pre-planned out way, without having a 4th being hit as well. And Aug Evokers, even if they're not buffing, people that are doing extreme amounts of damage in certain situations, just running some sims on them just buffing somebody doing average DPS, their damage is looking quite good. So obviously those sorts of sims are very hard to set up and run properly, so this is the part that I'm least comfortable about, but the numbers look strong enough to me under medium case situations that then when you think about real use case in a Race World First situation where you can be auging, if there's a fight where there is a spread cleave moment, and then you can be auging the Shadow Priest during that, or the Warlocks during that, and then
Dude,
there's
chat
the
wants
rest of the
aug
fight,
to not come back so bad.
DKs during the rest of it, right?
I think mainly Mythic
that's
clusters,
even better, right? The
which
Aug
I think
Evoker,
it's
if there are
the consensus of the community is that they're terrible Mythic
Aug
clusters,
Evoker
right?
is really good at just buffing them. And if there are fights that have some parts that some specs are good at and some parts that other specs are good at, that is the Augmentation Evoker paradise, because they basically get to be both of those specs, right? They get to be buffing both of those specs at those times. Now, in normal raiding guilds, right, in a World 50th Cutting Edge guild, is this even something that a lot of guilds will be able to set up and use to anywhere close to the effect that Race to World First guilds will? No, but this is a Race to World First raid comp prediction video. So I'm going to throw 2 Augmentation Evokers in here now as well. Now note that this is going to be fight dependent.
Wow.
Particularly for early bosses. If a boss is going to die in 10 pulls or less,
officially different from your all's list. You guys chose 2 dev.
why bother setting up an AUG situation for it, setting up AUG spreadsheets and weak auras and all that nonsense? So I don't think you're necessarily going to see this for the early bosses, but this is sort of a late boss comp that we're designing here. So yeah, 2 AUG Evokers in here, buffing our DKs, and honestly a 3rd DK to be getting buffed by them sounds pretty good to me.
Okay, true. You guys chose 2 Evokers, which does mean you'll get credit if they are AUG. But when I asked you guys AUG or dev, overwhelmingly you guys said dev. But maybe you're smarter than Dratnos, right? The fuck does he know?
Now our Druid raid buff. I think that's going to come from Resto Druid. Resto Druid's looking pretty good. The other Druids, Balance Druid is looking mid. Feral Druid's actually potentially not bad at burst windows as well, but I also think pretty unlikely historically to see play. And Guardian is another option, but I think with Resto Druid looking good, you just play that. Havoc DH looks okay, but I think you could cut the Havoc DH and play a Vengeance DH instead. There is a situation where Havoc looks quite strong, which is stacked adds and a priority target. If you think about the old situations of Subtlety Rogue funnel back in patch 8.0, when you had Zool, if that boss came out again today, it would actually be Aldrachi Reaver Havoc DH that would be doing, I think, maybe the most priority damage to Zool under those circumstances. So if there are situations like that this tier, but it doesn't look like there's huge cases of that this tier, I think you could shave the Havoc DH and play the Vengeance DH instead and get your Havoc buff there.
Is he calling it?
If you look at this, we're playing all this like non-raid buff.
The thing that I find so fascinating is if that actually does happen, the last time you ran 3 DKs, DPS DKs, which he has put on the list here, was Castle Nathrio. That was also the last time they had real AMZ. That was also the last time you played Vengeance instead of Havoc. So it'd be crazy if history repeated itself that the same season they added back AMZ, it's also the same tier where Havoc isn't good enough to be played and you play Vengeance again and you're stacking DKs.
Buff DPS stuff. We got to fill some raid buffs with our tank instead and cut some of these traditional raid buffing DPS players. So that's something that I think is an option. This is certainly by no means is required. I'm going to put a Havoc DH here in Group 6 to show this is an option.
Oh, he's predicting
sure
it.
In this
wow.
I'm obviously everything's an option. I'm going to try and limit myself to only putting a few specs down here.
He's undecided.
In these other groups as like backup plans. Let me put 5 specs at most, or 5, I guess. Yeah, 5 things at most here into, I guess, Group 5, which will be the backup plan. The other, I'll pick 25 things and hopefully 20 of them will be in. Okay, so Warrior's another spot where the raid buff, I think, can come from your tank. So playing a Prot Warrior here instead lets you drop the DPS Warrior. Fury doesn't look bad. Arms does. But it doesn't look exciting. That's what chat voted for. Again, if there are DPS specs that look super exciting, then I think that can be another raid buff that you are sourcing from your tank. Monks, on the other hand, I think you'll probably want to source the raid buff from potentially a healer, although maybe not. Maybe you get it from a Brewmaster or a Windwalker as well. I'm going to throw a Brewmaster down here into Group 5. Windwalker looks okay. Looks okay as well, although I kind of feel like it's going to fall off later into the tier as everybody's getting fully geared and on some of these later fights. Look kind of cringe to play Windwalker on, so I don't know. I'm going to start with Mistweaver here in Group 4, but it could very easily be Brewmaster in and then just figure out one of these raid buffs somewhere else.
So far, chat
Warlock's
also right?
looking super strong. We'll throw 2 Demo Locks in there, although the other 2 Warlock specs also look great. Demo is sort of the default that you'd use on a target dummy. A lot of real-world situations, you'd maybe opt instead from one of the other classes. Paladin buff. So I don't think you want to run Paladin. Prot Paladin is definitely an option. And then I guess if you're not playing either of those, it would be a Holy Paladin. So, man, I've kind of been looking at this like I've been doing my guild. Because in my guild, we're just going to play a Holy Paladin because we have a really good Holy Paladin that we always play. But, man, I don't know if the Race to World First guilds would do that. Maybe I should change one of my tanks into a Prot Pally.
If he rotates Vengeance out for Prot Pally here and then adds in Havoc, you guys are fucking locked back in.
Yeah,
again.
I'm going to do it. We'll play Prot Pally and we'll bring in the Havoc back in again. Because I feel like Holy looks pretty anemic this tier compared to some of the other healers. So I don't know if I think, and the Prot Pally utility suite is always potentially really valuable. Maybe you get some good spell wards on Dimensius and Salhadar, and also some very strong tank bubbles on those bosses potentially too. So yeah, let's go with double protection for our 2 tanks, which I guess is the same tank comp as last tier.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll do that for now. Bring in the Havoc DH. Then we need some other healers here. Now Presevoker, I think, is potentially a throughput monster. It does depend on if the fight works out for you being able to actually
you guys
make the
dropped
positioning
Prez,
requirements
I think.
work out for your spec, so that may or may not be possible. And then I think a healing priest makes a lot of sense as well. Something like a disc priest works out really well. I think that'll probably be, obviously the priest can play both, but my money would be on disc to start things off, although Holy definitely has potential as well. Okay,
so you guys officially disagree on
strong
healers.
Specs that I think will comprise the rest of our comp here. So we've got 4 DPS slots left. I think you're probably taking at least 2 Shadow Priests.
Ooh, you guys
again,
only
it
had
depends
one.
on the fight. Shadow Priest is one of the ones where
there were a lot of you that were saying add a second Shadow.
In the dark, if I had to play 20 specs for every boss, I'd want 2 Shadow Priests. But realistically, there's going to be some fights I think where they're great, and some fights where they're cuttable for this other stuff. But yeah, let's put 2 Shadow Priests into sort of our generic ballot here. And then let's throw in an Ellie Shaman. We do need a Shaman buff. Ellie looks
he's missing Mage buff, right?
A really good option for it. Resto also could totally work here. You could play Resto, like Resto, Windwalker, and then cut the Mistweaver, or you could play Resto and then cut like Prez and play a Brewmaster and add a Fury Warrior in here somewhere. Those are definitely options as well to sort of juggle the raid buffs and make this all work out. For this last spot, though, what do I think is the most likely here? If I had
come on.
I'm going to cut the... We'll cut the Brewmaster here, because I've talked about a lot of the options, but it looks like I actually am...
He started with raid buffs, but
on just
forgot Magus.
20-person prediction here.
Damn, mages, y'all are forgettable. Think about that.
This last spot
Think about that.
I guess I'm debating between the 4th DK, the 1st Dev Evoker...
Or the first mage buff.
I guess... Oh, I need a mage. Right, okay. Oops.
There we go.
That's that answer. Yeah, I'll throw in a... We'll throw in a mage, play Frost in some fights, Arcane on others, and probably not Fire so much this tier. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely more that I want in here. So let me fill up groups 5 and 6 with other things that you could want here. So
Chat, what do you guys think he's going to add as, like, things? Well, I mean, you guys were a fan of Resto Shaman. What else you guys have? You guys are going to assume that he's going to say you want more Warlocks because you guys were big on Warlock.
First of all, you might want to cut the Havoc and play a Vengeance. You might want to cut the Prop Warrior and play a Fury. You might want to cut the Prop Pally because you want to swap in, say, the Vengeance DH and play the Holy Paladin, or potentially even the Rep Paladin, depending on...
That's true, but that's not really how Race World First comp making works. If you're locking in Prot and Prop Paladin, you're not going to swap in you're not going to swap those tanks around. Really.
You might want another DK for sure. You might want to... I feel like...
I guess, like, historically, you could, like, be swapping in a Blood DK to grip something and then need to bring the other thing, but it wouldn't be because of their strength, right?
Your paw buff from, but... You might potentially do that. I'm not going to add in any of the other specs there. Definitely could play Dev Evokers either instead of or in addition to Aug Evokers. Don't think you're going to want another Hunter. You might well want another Mage. Definitely Windwalker, a possibility, as is Brewmaster. And yeah, another Shadow Priest.
Damn, Chad, he's so cheating. You guys were locked into 20 specs, and he just straight up put 30 down. Really he just actually put 30 down.
Another Rogue, probably don't need one of those. Another Ellie, definitely something you could use on some fights. Another Warlock, a third one, definitely possible. Yeah. So I guess those are sort of the options that are swapping in and out, in my opinion. But yeah, I think this is roughly what my prediction...
Someone in chat goes, bro just said, yeah, honestly, it could be anything.
For the raid composition this tier will look like. In terms of confidence for this, I would guess, I don't know.
He filled out 7
maybe
groups.
17 of these 20 specs. Something like that will be in. So I'm feeling...
I mean, realistically, when you're making an emboss comp, if I'm making an emboss comp right now, I don't have 20 names listed. I usually have 23 or 22. So, like, I think even filling out 23 is kind of fair. Because, like, even I don't know exactly the right 20 until you just see more. You just simply don't know what... You know what the last boss is going to do, but you don't know which part of that fight is going to be the hardest and needs the most, like, comp-specific stuff for it. You can't know that, so...
Pretty confident.
Can we get 23?
85% confident in this prediction, but the tanks in particular are the ones that both I and probably the guilds themselves are currently least confident in. That's why you just gear them all up and then you swap in and out the tanks. Because a lot of which of these tanks you'll play is how much do we want or want to avoid playing a Havoc? How much do we want or want to avoid playing a Fury Warrior, playing one of these other Paladins, right? Those are playing, a Mistweaver, right? All of those things are huge question marks for which of the 2 tanks you'll play, in addition to which of the tanks do the most damage and have the most survivability. Last year, Prop Warrior damage and survivability was so high that, like, that was just a great reason to bring them. But a lot of the tiers, the tanks are all pretty capable of just doing the tank job.
Damn, both Dratnos and Ural's list has just a historically significant low amount of melee. Like last raid before, you have like 9 or 10. Going all the way back even to Fireact, you have 9 or 10 like melee players, not tanks, like melee DPS and melee healers. It's like 8 to 10 usually. And this tier you guys have, your list I think had 5 or 4 maybe, and Dratnos' list has 6, which is still crazy low, right? Not to say it's wrong, but that would be a big departure from what it has been. Anyways, we got to go take a team pick, I think. So I'll be back in a little bit. I don't really know what to put on now. I guess I could go back to that other Dratnos video that you guys were watching earlier about explaining the race world first.
Guild that is not a...
Yeah, fuck it. I'll just keep stealing his content. Why not? All right, be right back.
Race World First competitor, but they'll go in and try and get World First Plexus Sentinel, and then if they can kill that, they'll try and get World First Lumathar, and they'll be doing that on the very start of Tuesday. So you'll see guilds like that on the leaderboard long before Liquid Echo and Method actually enter the leaderboard, and depending on the tier, you might actually see those guilds get to 4 out of 8 Mythic, 5 out of 8 Mythic. In fact, there's been some tiers where people have gotten even further than that before Liquid and Echo have entered the raid. So this is a spreadsheet from Reddit about the pull count of every boss from these world first guilds. So some of these, obviously the ones farther to the left are the earlier bosses. Some of them technically have like 20 pulls for the world first on them because a different guild than Liquid or Echo actually got world first and took a long time. But this is the amount of pulls that it took Liquid, Echo, and then going back, Method, Exorcist, Serenity, Paragon, to kill these bosses in the last, going back to Warlords of Draenor World First. And you'll see a lot of races, there are many bosses with single-digit pull counts. If you go to Amir Drasil, The Dream's Hope, 6 bosses died with a combined total of 11 wipes to Liquid at the start of Amir Drasil. So that was a raid where, I think it was instant dollars, where 6 out of 8, or 6 out of 9 Mythic for days while Echo and Liquid were doing splits. And so you might see that on the leaderboard. Then there are some tiers where, actually, like Liberation of Undermine, took a while for bosses beyond Vexy and Cauldron to die for pretty much anybody. Rick Reverb was already a medium-sized wall. A lot of guilds didn't kill that first week, even that would go on to get Cutting Edge. And then, obviously, Styx and Sprocketmonger. One guild in the world killed Sprocketmonger in the first week. It was Echo. 12 guilds in the world killed it by the end of the second week. My guild was the 12th. And then it got nerfed to be actually somewhat reasonable. So some tiers you might see a lot of bosses die early. Some tiers you might not. Don't panic. If you see that tracker go up to 6 out of 8 Mythic, that doesn't mean that the race is 3/4 done. It's logarithmic, right? These early bosses represent a tiny fraction of the amount of time and difficulty in the race to world first. Now, because of that, the guilds may try to optimize those early bosses. Sometimes what you'll see is a character that's definitely going to get played on every boss doesn't play the first boss, even though sort of on a level 1 thinking, you'd be like, okay, we want our characters that are the most likely to get played to be in on the most bosses to get the most loot. But if you're thinking, hey, Fired Up is 100% to be in, which I mean, he may or may not be, I don't know if they're going to play him on every boss, they usually do, but whether or not that's true, right? As an example, if Fired Up was 100% to be in, or if THD as the Warlock for Liquid is 100% to be in on every boss, maybe you don't play him on the first boss because you only need 6 bosses to fill a Great Vault. So a very common pattern for the race to world first is that every boss, except for the last boss, dies on the first week. That's not always been true. Last tier, only 4 or 5 bosses died in the first week. Tier before that, I forget how far they got. I forget when Kaiveza got nerfed. I think it was, it died on that first week, and Silken Cord also died on that first week, but I don't know for sure. Don't remember for sure. Anyways, a lot of tiers, you will get to the last boss but not kill it in the first week, which means you might have 7 bosses killed in the first week. It's probably the most common number of bosses to kill. So you might design your Great Vaults such that you're trying to maximize the amount of people that are going to end at 6 or 4 on their Great Vaults that you might use on Dimensius. Because you're growing into the tier, you have an idea of what the comp you think is good for every boss, right? And this tier, I suspect there is, sort of like last year, there's going to be some more swapping. There have been some tiers where the best comp has just been the best comp on every boss. This tier, I think it's going to be, there are some classes that look really strong, some specs that look really strong. I'll have a video going over comp stuff coming out soon, hopefully. But I think this is going to be another one of those tiers where you might be swapping between what's good on one boss and what's good on another. So basically the idea is going to be to try and get everybody as much loot, the bosses that they need the loot from. These early bosses, if you're going to one-shot it anyways, you maybe swap in and out the characters that you actually want to be good, you know, to be... to gear up as potential characters to use, right? Even if they're not, you know, you don't just play 20 characters on all the bosses. Okay, what other stuff do we have to talk about? So, the end of the first reset rolls around. Typically, in the average race, yeah, the second to last boss is getting pulled on Sunday, dies on Monday, something like that is a pretty common pattern. There have been raids where the entire race is over by Monday. There's also been raids where they're only halfway through the raid on Monday. So all of this can happen. All of these are possibilities for Mana Forge Omega. I will say historically, the 8 boss raids tend to be shorter than more amounts of bosses. But also historically, the last raid of an expansion tends to be a longer race than average. The average race ends usually around the Thursday of the second reset. I would say smart money's probably on something like the Saturday of the second reset here. But sometime in that Thursday, Wednesday, Saturday, Sunday range is probably the most likely. It could easily be a 1 reset or a 3 reset race, though. None of this, all the information that you might hear of like, oh, these bosses look this way from PTR, none of that is relevant. I mean, it's relevant, but none of that is very predictive for how many races or how many weeks the race is going to go. A lot of that comes down to what tuning Blizzard has put on this and how these later bosses work. A lot of changes may happen between the PTR versions and the versions that go live. The last boss on Mythic hasn't been tested as well. Last boss hasn't been tested on any difficulties, so that's always a huge question mark as well. So end of the first reset rolls around. The 16-hour head start thing, which is actually more like a 10-hour head start because of the server coming up late for NA and only being 13 hours apart in the reset now, with the EU reset moving to 5 a.m. Recently. But that head start that the North Americans have, it's an interesting advantage. It's pretty difficult to argue that it's not an advantage. I'm not going to do that here. But it is a decaying advantage over the course of the first reset. So if the race ends on Wednesday the 13th, Thursday the 14th, that head start is huge, right? You got a 40-hour race and one guild gets 10 extra hours at it. Yeah, I mean, that's a crazy amount of extra value. However, there is an advantage to being the guilds that are starting later, which does slowly accumulate, which is if you're the guild that's behind, you'll get to watch the guild that is ahead. In this era, the modern era of the Race to World First, they're streaming their progression. Now, guilds might turn off their streams in the last hour, 2 hours of the day if they reach a new boss to try and hide information before going to bed. But typically, 95% of the race is streamed at this point. So there's an advantage for being one of the later guilds, one of the European guilds, to watch Liquid do that early progress. And if Liquid runs into a bugged boss, a boss that is overtuned, they may waste attempts on it and cause it to end up getting nerfed. All of this means that the advantage that Liquid starts with on the 12th is a huge advantage on the 12th. And it's a big advantage on the 13th. And it's a big advantage on the 14th. And it's all of that kind of doesn't matter because all of these are split day anyways. And then the first day of Mythic progress, right? It's a big advantage on that first day of Mythic prog. It tapers off towards the end of the reset, right? If the Race to World First ends on the 17th or the 18th, it's very unlikely that the head start is a huge factor in determining which guild won. That's not to say that the head start isn't a bad thing. It would be good if it went away, although that requires Blizzard to, make a huge change to the logistics of how they maintain their video games. So it would be a big ask. It would make the Race to World First better for sure. But luckily, there haven't been a lot of races that have ended, with a North American victory in the first few days. That race that I talked about that could have ended on the first day and did end on the first day for the European Guild that killed it first back at Emerald Nightmare. That one was won by a European Guild anyways. But the thing is, that head start becomes a huge issue again if the race ends on the 19th. If the race ends on the 19th, then the Americans Liquid get to come back in with a second reset of gear. They get to re-clear, they get their Great Vaults, they get their second Sparks, they get another hit of Gilded Crests on their whole account, and they get to jump up 5 item levels or something. So if the last boss is like 5% HP, both guilds have figured out the fight, they're wiping to Enrage on Monday, and then Tuesday rolls around, and Liquid wakes up and, pops Mantis runes and gets their vaults and kills the boss. That would be a pretty tough way for the Race to World First to end. It has almost ended like that once before. Back in Sanctum of Domination, we almost had that disaster case for the Race to World First, where Liquid progressed Sylvanas, got it super low, almost killed it at the end of the first reset, had a heartbreaking, DC that would have otherwise been a kill, pull, and then they woke up, rolled in on Tuesday, and one-shot Sylvanas on Tuesday. If that had been for a World First, that would have been pretty tough for the Race to World First as a viewer experience. Thankfully, Echo had killed it in the meantime while Liquid were asleep there, and so it didn't end up being a world first. But that is the big disaster case that is sort of always waiting in the wings every tier with the way that the head start works, is the second reset and the third reset rolling up with that extra gear and causing it to make you they literally one-shot the boss. It was their first pull of that second reset. So that is a potential disaster case with the head start. My personal opinion is that the head start is unlikely to change until something like that happens, because from Blizzard's perspective right now, the Race to World First is a great thing that they don't have to do anything to make a great, promote their game for free on Twitch and be a huge thing. And so they're not going to touch it unless something like that happens, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, this is stupid, we're not going to watch next tier unless this changes. That's my personal opinion on the like what would cause the head start to actually change. Is I do think there would have to be a race that just like clearly all the hype is killed by the existence of the head start. So other than that, I think it's just sort of an annoying thing that is kind of always there, and I don't like talking about it too much because it's just like, yeah, we've talked about it 100 times. It sucks. It's not going to change. The race is still cool and fun, and talking about it, the worst part of it over and over again is kind of a buzzkill. So that's my take. That's my perspective on the head start. Either way, head start would be a big deal if the race ends on the 19th or the 20th, and then as we move into the 21st, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, again, it stops being as much of an advantage, spikes up to being a big advantage again if the race ends on the 26th, and then decays pretty rapidly into the 28th, 29th, and 30th, all of which would be a very long race. The last race that has gone to the third reset was Sepulchre of the First Ones back in 2022, a 3-week race that featured a heroic week as well, something that doesn't happen anymore. It used to be that heroic raid would open for a week before Mythic. This time around, that doesn't happen. That's part of the reason why you were going to see splits for 3.5 days at the start of the race, instead of only for 1.5 to 2 days like you would if there was a heroic week. So if you don't like watching splits in the Race to World First, petition Blizzard to bring back heroic week. That would help fix that a little bit. But splits is one of those things where everybody, when they first learn about the Race to World First, comes up with some idea for fixing splits and making them go away. And everybody, all of those ideas have been thought of before, and they all have some glaring hole in them that would be like, either this would grief normal guilds too much if it was implemented, or it's not feasible for some other reason. So, yeah, okay, so that's the Race to World First. At some point, they'll reach the last boss. They'll send all the remaining resources if they haven't sent them already. They'll probably have sent them on the second to last, the third to last boss. They'll reach the last boss. It'll be super cool. This raid looks awesome. The bosses look really cool. If you're interested in seeing some footage of them, well, I mean, I guess by the time this video is out, just wait for the race. There's no need to seek out the PTR footage. But yeah, a lot of these bosses look incredibly stunning visually, so should be a very good time. If you're also interested in good places to go, so the 3 teams that I've mentioned, Liquid, Echo, and Method, will all be streaming on Twitch. There will be caster streams for each of them. I'm one of the casters for the Liquid stream. There are also good casters for the other guilds as well. There's also Preach for Echo, mid, and then a bunch of great casters there too. And then they have so there are the caster streams. There are also players will stream their perspectives. If you want all those aggregated, there are a few good places to look at that. Raider.io, which we already were looking at for Liberation of Undermine stuff, has a very strong Race to World First coverage place here, where they will have, there already is coverage starting here of, you can see all the different Method, Echo, looking for split helpers. You can see how much gold you'd get for helping out with that. And then just also more, more coverage of what's going on there. Over on Warcraft logs, there will also be a great page. It's not out yet, but there will be a race view page that you can find it'll be probably on the front page, where it'll have coverage of the different guild streams and also the different players that are streaming. Usually you can see if you go to the guilds page as well, like if you go to Liquid, and you go here, you can also see on their roster just who's live, who's streaming. And there's also a version of that on the Warcraft logs page, where you'll be able to just go and see individual players that are streaming on your class if you want to watch that. In addition to the caster streams, Max's stream for Liquid tends to be really high viewership one that a lot of people like to go to and watch because Liquid stream with their comms unmuted pretty much full time, whereas Echo and Method mute their comms a little more. Liquid will do it sometimes, but the Liquid comms are really fun to listen to. Another thing about that head start is Liquid can have a little bit more fun because they're not behind at the start, and it's a little bit more fun to be ahead than be behind and be discovering stuff instead of trying to copy stuff. So that can be part of the reason. That's potentially part of the reason why the Liquid comms tend to be more funny. Also depends on what your sense of humor is, but yeah, that stream will be a very popular one. And then also there are Twitch team pages. Not a lot of people know about this, but if you go to like twitch.tv/team/Team Liquid, you get the Team Liquid Twitch team, for instance. There's also ones for Echo and Method, and this has all of Liquid's players in other games and stuff, but this will have all of the WoW Guild, when they're streaming, you'll be able to see them in their streams on the sidebar here and just swap between them. So a lot of different sources that you can go to watch the Race to World First, all the different players, all the different guild streams. I think that's everything that I thought of for this video. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how hard mode Tazavesh impacts things. That's kind of the only big difference from last tier this time around. If you have any questions about how any of this works, I tried to explain it in this video, but maybe I missed something, so put it in the comments below, and I'll try to answer any questions that you have. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye. Oh, also there will be daily coverage videos here on this YouTube channel. Me and Tettles are running it back with some Wowhead-sponsored daily coverage of the Race to World First videos. So if you're interested in that, those will be coming out presumably starting on Tuesday the 12th. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.
Let's go. What's up? Hopefully it hasn't been too long. Do you guys feel informed now? Do you guys know how the race to
Does
world
slowly
first? Oh my
accumulate.
god, that's so loud. Do you guys know how the race works? Was it a good video? Like, are you actually where to watch? Let's see. Any head start, more loot and maxing. Other guilds taking an early lead. Ooh, that's a good question. How many bosses does instant dollars kill before we step into the raid? Last tier was only Rick Reverb. But I think in almost every tier, they're going to kill the fourth boss. You think 4? You think they kill Forge Weaver? What's the historical amount? So Instant Dollars killed 3 bosses before we went in the raid. In Nearbar Palace. 3 bosses in Undermine. They killed... Yo, they killed a lot in Amir Drasil, right? They killed the first boss, Agira, Council of Dreams. They killed Volcaros and Laradar. Right? 5? They killed 5 bosses? Six? Is that 6? Did I get the number wrong? Monitored suspicious user. How do you get so many viewers by doing nothing? It's astounding. Dude, same. I don't know, man. I don't get it either. Max, look at his chat history. Oh, I bet this is crazy. Let's see. Dude, yeah. 2 months ago, one message. How do you have viewers, bro? Dude, he just keeps saying this. In April, how do you have any viewers? Ah! The fucking professional hater, bro. Insane aura. Max, why isn't instant dollars in competition for the race? Because they don't raid enough. So like we raid from when we wake up to when we go to bed every day until it's over. Instant dollars does that for like, I think they maybe do it on like the first day. But then after that, I think maybe even a couple days, maybe on the, I don't know their weekend hours. I just know they don't do that. If I'm gonna make something up, they raid like 5 hours a night, 7 days a week, which was what our old schedule was like before we went for the race. And realistically, no guild is good enough to raid that little and win is the answer to that. Like literally no guild. Us, Echo, if any of us raided those hours, we wouldn't win. Do you think they are good enough? Instant dollars? They're really good. I have no idea. Like, I don't think if they like went for the race their first time, I don't think they'd win. But they're really good. They could definitely like get, you know, with like multiple race world first. Like they have the same thing that Method kind of has the issue with is they don't have leadership that has like been in the lead and won races, which is important because if you're not in the lead doing that, you're kind of just doing what everyone else is doing. Which is not developing the right skills. So like Instant Dollars doesn't have those skills. They would have no way to obtain them. So like I feel like they'd probably like skill wise, I mean, I don't know enough about them, but they'd probably do well. I just think it'd most likely take them like a few tiers of doing it to realistically be able to compete. It's just too hard. How confident are you right now that Liquid wins this race compared to previous races? I mean, I felt for a long time that, like, if we go into the raid and don't beat ourselves, like, I feel like we're the best guild. We've certainly proved that recently. But I just think we have better players than other guilds. I think we have, like, experience doing this, and I think going into any raid, just personally, I feel like as long as we do not beat ourselves, which can happen, by the way, it's actually really easy for that to happen. It's hard to have that not happen in some way, you know, like having bad days, having times where you're off, getting in your own head, all that shit happens, you know. But if we can avoid that, I think we will win for sure. And I felt that way last race as well. So I would say, you asked me, do I feel similar to previous races? Yeah. And that's just speaking for us. And then what some people will ask as a follow-up, well, that's how you feel about you, but how do you feel about how the other guilds are doing? In which I always have the same answer of, I have no fucking idea, man. I have no clue. Oh, Method picked up all these players. I've never raided with any of those players. I have genuinely no idea how good any of them are. I don't know. Right? A lot of you guys don't know either. You just know you've heard those names before. I don't know how they would fit into that. Even if they're great, like, I don't know how they fit into a completely different environment, you know, with different leadership and stuff like that. People thrive in different scenarios. Like, I have genuinely no clue. I don't know how any of you could. So I don't know. I'm not in those guilds. Max, did you see that only one guild has killed Gallywix this week because of the bug? Yeah, that's really interesting. I think the only reason they haven't fixed it is purely because you can't get cutting edge anymore, so they don't really care that it's like super fucked. Like, for example, they would have definitely, I don't know if they would have definitely fixed it, but they certainly would have tried a lot harder to if cutting edge was still available. But yeah, because no one else, I mean, I feel like it doesn't really matter. Like, basically, if literally any amount of effort is spent on making the real season drop next week better, it's probably every bit of effort in that area is better than bug fixing the current raid. Although there is some level of, like, it is kind of stupid that, like, a raid is, like, basically impossible right now. It's not impossible, it's not unkillable, but it's like, for almost everyone, it probably is. Do you think it was better when World First wasn't streamed and everyone actually had to figure it out? No one could copy another guild. Yeah. It wasn't a better product. It would have never, like, I can say I hate streaming the race all I want, but, like, it's the reason that we get paid to do this and that it's a thing that all of you guys care about. Not all of you. People cared about it before it was streamed, but, I mean, it exponentially more popular, right? But yeah, the vibe when you did it off stream was like you weren't, I mean, just basically more people had fun. Like, if you're the guild that's ahead, like, you are having fun because you're figuring out the boss. But how it used to be is that, like, it didn't matter if you were ahead or not. In fact, you didn't even know, I guess, until someone killed a boss. But, like, and then when they killed it, you couldn't just copy their shit. You had to, like, come up with it on your own. So I would say, like, on average, the race was more fun for everyone involved because the top 5 guilds, and sometimes even higher ranks than that, all got to, like, do the raid themselves, which is simply the most fun part of it. It makes it so much better. It's why we do this. So yeah, I mean, I think as a, like, a player perspective, also kind of coincidentally back then, also there was way less, like, splits and way less, like, degenerate, like, making a million characters stuff. So it was also just, like, better because of that too. But it probably would have evolved into that anyway. Wasn't there way less info also? Like no journal telling you abilities? No, all the Dungeon Journal has been the same for as long as I've been playing the game, which is since Kata. I don't know if before that it was different. The 5 kills before videos handshake was a kind of cool thing that they did. Okay, yes, but also no. Because for someone who was in that scene, that's not exactly how it happened. Like, usually what happened is, like, the first guild killed it and the second guild killed it, or maybe just one of them. And then some person who raids in the first or second guild would leak their strat video or add-ons or whatever to a guild within the top 5 that they liked to, like, help them beat a guild they don't like. So I would say on most tiers, even though, like, from the public-facing side of things, there was, like, a top 5 handshake, I would say those 5 guilds had seen those videos, like, more often than not before they come out. At least since I was a part of that scene, so I would say pretty confidently since, like, Legion. Like, in WoD and Legion, when we were top 5. Like, I feel like that's pretty much how that worked. No integrity? Yeah. People just... I mean, if you don't like a guild a lot and you can hurt their feelings by making someone beat them by helping them, that pretty much has always happened in WoW. Like, always. W hate. So true, Tobo. So fucking true. Do you think it would be more interesting if they could pull it off? There was no testing and only Dungeon Journal. Yeah, of course. I mean, that's basically what we did on Gallywix. And it was really fun. And that boss was easy, too. Now, just imagine if it was, like, an actual, like, legit crazy-ass end boss with no Dungeon Journal. That would have been fucking insane. That would have been my most favorite boss ever, no matter what. Max, are you aware that if Liquid wins this raid, they would be the first guild to achieve all world first within one expansion? That's okay. So first of all, that doesn't matter, and second of all, that's not true. Paragon won every single 10-man raid in Mists of Pandaria. I'm like almost certain that that's true. And even if it didn't, it just doesn't matter. They definitely did not. Wait, did Depraved win one of the Mist of Pandaria races? I don't think so. Depraved and Paragon merged going into WoD, but I believe Paragon won every raid. I could be wrong. Max is being humble in the back of his mind. I mean, here's what I mean, but like, okay, us winning matters. Like, dude, if we don't win, I'm existentially sad. And if we win, I feel great. Like, that matters. I'm just saying the whole, like, legacy, entire expansion sweep thing, that doesn't matter. That's like a made-up Stephen A. Smith, like, Sports Center. Like, there's nothing going on in sports at the moment, so they make up these fake, dumb arguments that don't matter, so they have content. That's what that sounds like, but just the esports version. It's creating pressure. Genuinely, that is not true. Do you mean on us? Like, not other guilds? Like, you think there's more, we feel more pressure in this raid than we would normally because we've won multiple times? That is just simply, like, completely false. There's literally no fucking way. You approach every single raid the same. I can very confidently say that. I mean, we haven't even talked about that. It's just irrelevant. You go into every raid with everything on the line. If you don't win the raid, you want to actually die. That is strong motivation, bro. You want to die crazy style. right? And if you win, you feel amazing. There's always that, you know. So like the whole like sweep thing, it just doesn't. It's completely irrelevant, at least as far as pressure is concerned. Max, how do you handle raging and the pressure on the players during the race? I don't, man. I fucking yell at them all the time. You got to demean people under you. Just got to stay yelling, man. The real question is merch when. Bro, honestly, I don't know. I don't know when we're announcing that, but it's there. I also low-key like kind of leaked our jersey earlier on complete accident. You can see like my arm. How do you avoid complacency after being so dominant for a couple years? By remembering what losing feels like. It's just so present in my brain what that feels like, and for all of us what that feels like, and it's just so bad. Like the feeling of losing is so bad that it's the ultimate like motivator to prepare the same way. Did it ever happen in a race that some players just quit during the race? Yeah. That's happened a few times in WoW's history. Is it hard for the top guilds to find people helping in splits? Or is there more helpers than needed? So there's definitely more helpers in general than needed in both regions, but there's definitely not enough like good helpers, like ideal, like fucking super geared banger player helpers. There's a limited amount of those. I'm definitely not envious of Method or Echo having to basically compete for those people. I think generally we're going to get all of those in NA because there's nowhere else to really go in the region, which is very sweet. When BDG was around, that was super annoying. But yeah, they wait, didn't Method win all? Yeah. So you found, we talked about this the other day. You found a interesting wrinkle in that. So when I said no guild has ever won every raid of an expansion, raids did not used to count the same. So like, for example, in BFA, Uldir, Battle of Dazar'alor, Eternal Palace. I mean, Crucible was kind of like a lesser raid or whatever, but Eternal Palace and Ny'alotha were all their own raids, right? In Legion, in WoD, in MoP, that was not true. I guess Kata as well. Back then, things were not looked at as raids. You were not like the world first. So like Blood Legion got world first Heart of Fear, which was the second in 3 raids all in one tier at the beginning of MoP. Method won Terrace of Endless Spring, so they won that whole tier, but they didn't win every raid. In the first tier of Warlords of Draenor, Highmaul and Blackrock Foundry were one raid tier. Paragon won Highmaul, but Method won Blackrock Foundry, so they won that tier. But it really mattered just winning the last one of the tiers who determined who won the whole tier, which is kind of stupid. But also, raids were different back then. Emerald Nightmare, Trial of Valor, and Nighthold were not all the same thing. Clearly, Nighthold was something different. That was the one that dropped tier gear, and that was like the raid. And Emerald Nightmare was clearly a starter raid. They don't do that anymore. They haven't done it in a very long time. But like, if you want to make the argument that a guild won every raid of an expansion, like in Warlords of Draenor, Method did not win every raid in that expansion, but they did win both raid tiers. You know what I'm saying? So it is a little weird. But I would accept that argument. That's just simply how raiding worked back then. Wait, am I high, or wasn't Blackrock Foundry released later than Highmaul? It was. They were not released at the same time. Highmaul and Blackrock Foundry came out like months separated from each other, but it didn't matter because Highmaul was not its own tier. It was part of the tier with Blackrock Foundry. Dratnos said in his video that Echo and Method pay more for helpers since they compete for helpers while you are alone in the US. But that is nonsense. Liquid is paying way more than Echo. Tell Dratnos he's drunk. So, I mean, theoretically what Dratnos is saying should be true, but really they're just competing against each other. What we're doing is not really relevant to Echo and Method, but what they are doing is relevant to each other. Like, for example, if Method is giving a split helper a way better deal, maybe some of the good helpers want to go help Method instead of Echo if they don't really care. But, like, yeah, there was one tier where we were paying a bunch and Echo did, like, some raffles. But the thing is, people still showed up to their splits. Like, if a guild pays a lot less for their splits to their community, but they still fill all their runs, didn't they just, like, save gold? Why we pay a lot of gold for splits is pretty simple. You get what you pay for. If we just... What we could probably do is not give anyone anything for splits and purely get away with just... people supporting us and wanting to help us win and pay no gold. We could probably do that. We haven't tried to do that, but we could probably do that. But the runs are going to be slower. We care about winning, right? It's a worthwhile trade. You guys get gold for coming, which attracts better players to come to the splits, which makes our splits faster, which gives us a higher chance of winning. So we pay the amount we pay not relevant to what Method and Echo are paying. We purely do it just whatever value we feel like would actually entice a good player to show up because we need them to do that. Max, with Tazavesh, no deaths giving mythic loot, are characters basically bricked if a group dies? No, not at all. For the Race to World first, after you have your main selected and after you've run your splits and everything, the value of Mythic Tazavesh is extremely... Like, the Mythic piece you get from a hard mode Tazavesh is extremely low for the race. For most people, you're saving Gilded Crests, but a decent amount of raiders will not need Gilded Crests at all anymore after splits. That's usually how geared we get. And even if they do it, it would have to be in a slot where you would actually want to save Gilded Crests, or be a trinket that you would specifically want to use, which is unlikely, or be a weapon that would save you from crafting. And there's like 50 items that you could potentially get, so it's actually an extremely low chance. Like, I'll keep it a straight up buck with you. If we do our Tazaveshes at any point next week, and every single group fails, I'll acknowledge that, never think about it again, move on, and just continue doing the raid. I don't think, like, for the race, I don't know, it might even be arguable to just not even spend the time doing it at all. It's, in my opinion, it's very, very low value for the race. 1 hour for 20 myth track items is not worth it. Well, it's more than 20 myth track items because you have more than 20 players. But how many of those myth track items are something you're going to equip or use at all or save you any crests? Like you mentioned, 20 mythic items. I'm going to just make up that maybe 1 or 2 of them is gaining you the average value of like 15 crests, which is just so small. Also, an hour is pretty quick. Okay, well, what if you gain nothing from doing that and then you kill the end boss 1 hour later? That you don't want to do that, right? Hours matter. No, I mean like clearing it in an hour is giga optimistic. Is it? By the time any of our players would even potentially be doing it, they would have already completely ran all of their heroic splits and will have 4-piece and almost completely full gilded out characters. And they're in the best guild in the world, right? They're pretty good, so it'd probably be fine. Hour sounds about right. I missed the Chinese world first competitors of 4,000 attempts on bosses. That's been happening recently. I don't think they've gone anywhere. There was a guild like top 10 world or something last year that had like 400 pulls on sticks or something. Or maybe it was One Arm Bandit. There was like 300, some crazy amount of attempts. Max, am I banning weird people this race or just timing them out? Oh, that's a good question, actually. What are we like? What do you want to? So I think people that just come in and ask like, what is best pull, or like people that are coming in to type an update on how low another guild is getting, that's a timeout. That's not a ban because they're just. I mean, I don't know why people do that, and it's annoying, but like ban's kind of extreme. I would say for sure ban anyone being toxic. But sometimes it's like passionate. Like I don't know. Like if someone's saying, like, man, I wish X player wouldn't die. They're like rooting for you and they want you to succeed and they feel like someone's messing up. And maybe they're right. But I just find it crazy that like when you look at chat and there are people who are nowhere near as good as these people calling them dog shit. I just think that's crazy. Like if like what are you even doing right now? I don't know. I think we've definitely gone too overboard on the bans in the past, but also I'd certainly always rather being more on the side of making chat somewhat readable than like a hellscape. I don't know. I would just say mods use your best judgment. I don't really know what that means, but whatever you feel like, you just do it. It's all good. You can always unban them after the race. Like in previous races too, we would always ban people that were even toxic to other guilds. Like someone would come in and just be like, "Yo, fuck Echo," and then they would just get banned. But like, I don't know if I'm only doing that because I feel like that's probably the best scenario for the race. If people are just legit toxic to any team, that just makes no sense. But I don't know if those other channels are doing the same thing to us or me. I have no idea. But if they're not, then I guess we wouldn't ban that either, right? But I feel like it sets a good precedent. So if those other channels are also doing that, then we should continue. It's interesting how your opinion towards Echo has changed over the past few expansions. In what way? How has my opinion on Echo changed? It's actually interesting to me. It probably has. I'm not saying you're wrong either. I just don't even know what you mean. I feel like I've pretty much always felt the same. I mean, they're competitors. It's easy to get too far into that, you know? They're just a guild trying to win. We're just a guild trying to win. I'm genuinely curious how Echo and Method will perform with all these changes to their roster. That seems to be the single... I'm pretty sure this is true. I think that is the single biggest interesting thing in the race for the viewers so far, from what I can tell. Like, if you were to poll what are the most interesting narratives or things about this race, I think if there's anything, I think chat... Dude, honestly, from what this could be wrong, and this sounds stupid, but I feel like people are almost less interested in who wins versus like what Echo versus Method is going to look like. Like, I feel like if we just won the race, like let's just say right now we're going to win the race, I still feel like people would be locked the fuck in to see how Method and Echo finished up. Which is so weird. That's like never happened before. I feel like there's just like a lot of genuine interest in how those two guilds will play out. I mean, I can't even fucking lie. Like, if we win this race, I already know literally all the boys are going to be fucking on a couch in a review room, and we are going to be watching the second and third thing. If it's close, like that would be, we would be locked the fuck into that too. So I don't even know why I'm acting like I would be surprised with that. Post-win XDD viewing has to be the pinnacle. You know, it always seems that way. It's like, oh, dude, we just won. Can't you guys wait to just... I can't wait to just sit around and just watch these other guilds. But, like, it never ends up actually being what you think it is. Because, like, you know, there's a lot of, like, feelings both ways. So you're just like, I just can't wait to just fucking... But you're not really rubbing it in. And usually what you're doing is you're watching a guild that's, like, mentally defeated, which... we've lost before and know what that feels like. And you're watching a guild that's mentally defeated, like try to kill, but that's just not even fun. It's not even fun to watch other people do that. Unless there's like crazy drama and stuff. What's going on? What is that? What's in the box? What's in the box is all the apparel. Which I can't show you guys yet, but yeah.
Is right here okay?
Yeah, it'll be fine. That's fine. Oh, chat says hi, by the way. That's what they wanted me to tell you.
Hello. I will let you know when you can show chat.
Okay, cool. Does losing the race even matter that much commercially? not in the current, like, whether we win or lose this race won't really affect how profitable this is for Team Liquid, how much sponsors will pay for this one, but it like roughly affects viewership. So like going into a next race, it could be not great. Also like we're about to like our Team Liquid deal. We've been with Team Liquid for like 4 years now, I think, and I think next year is our re-signing year. I'm actually pretty sure it's like a year from the end of this year, so I guess like beginning of 2027. So we're going to start negotiating for that soon. Coming off a win would certainly like give us more leeway for that, but also like it's already a profitable thing, and even when you lose races, they're still profitable. So it's like realistically, actually probably wouldn't affect it that much, but I mean, winning is definitely really important to culture and brand too. Like an esports team is certainly more, it gives you more value and is more attracted to holding on to a team that is winning for sure, right? It's got to affect passion. Yeah. I mean, actually, I don't know. Like, I feel like we've always gone the hardest after losing. Actually, that's not really true. We kind of went crazy hard last. That maybe used to be true. That's certainly like how humans work, right? Like, it's just simply impossible to like make up. Like, if you just win, I'm just gonna make this up, like 10 tiers in a row. Like, are you gonna go as hard for that 11th tier as you would if you like just lost? Like, humans are gonna human, you know. Like, you just simply can't make up that. You can't manufacture that. So I would say, especially across a large group of people, not just any individual. So at some point, clearly, like there's a thing, but I don't know. We certainly haven't won enough to feel that way. I feel like we approached this tier specifically, like we always try to approach a tier as if we lost. Like the first thing you do after you get done with a raid is you have a meeting, and you literally ignore the fact that you won. You talk about what you would have changed. How would we have lost this race? What did we do bad? And you approach it as if you didn't win. Right? Kind of have to do that. Would being third hurt more than being second? Probably hurt slightly more. If like nothing went wrong and we just got outplayed by 2 guilds instead of 1, that would hurt a little worse, but not that much worse, honestly. It's kind of like winning or not winning. Like if you win, it's great, and if you lose, it sucks. And whether you lose by a lot or a mile, you still lose. But our expectation is to win. So if your expectation is to win and then 2 guilds just not like you either beat yourself or they outplay you or something, that's like, yeah, it would definitely, I mean, I guess it would hurt more. Did that happen in Sepulcher? No, and Sepulcher was different because, like, you know, we, like, when we weren't going to win and that event was dog shit, we just flew home. Like, we knew when we were flying home that we were going to lose more than just second. But, like, after losing to Echo, you just didn't care about anything less than that. But also, like, back then, Method wasn't, like, at all a realistic competitor for first. So, like, losing to Method specifically and a couple other guilds just didn't, it wasn't indicative of how well we played in that tier. We just took like 4 days traveling home, you know. This raid I think would probably be different than that if we came in third. I guess something similar could happen, I guess, like we get kicked out of a facility or something, have to leave. Praying for no power issues. Bro, last year, like, the power issues was definitely the most, like, obvious thing that was just, like, out of your control and stupid, but there was actually so much more. Like, people talked about it at the end of last race, but I think the main thing that has persisted is people remember the power outage. But, like, we had, like, a ton of fucking random bullshit. Like, we had a lot of stuff go wrong last race. Like, I would say, even if there was no power outage, we actually had more stuff last race, like, hold us back, random shit, packet loss, lagging, gates and doors not opening, just things that take away hours of your progression. Just more of those happened last year. Last year, no power outage than any tier we've done since Sepulcher. Sepulcher had a ton of that too. We lagged for an hour and a half every single day in Sepulcher. At like 2:30 p.m. That was fucking brutal. But there was something similar to that last year for a couple days, at least during the week. You mean the planned power outage? Yeah. Dude, now you guys know how to bait me because there are genuinely people who think it was a planned power outage because they were lied to by multiple people who either knew or didn't know that that wasn't true. But then now you guys know that it's like a trigger, so you just like mention it. Every time the power outage comes up, you're like, yeah, so you mean the planned one. Fuck yeah. Why do people think it was planned? So when we tweeted that we lost power, there was like someone replied and said like, shouldn't you guys have known about this? And they linked like some kind of Santa Monica power, like planned power outage thing. And just, there was no other information on it. People were just like, yep, that's the one. Meanwhile, it was only for 30 minutes and it was for a single household to fix like some electrical issues. It had nothing to do with the entire block of power going out for like multiple billion-dollar like companies around here. That obviously Team Liquid's not a billion-dollar company, but like it was just completely unrelated. And then someone heard that and then went on a broadcast and was like, "I heard the power outage was planned," and they just made it the fuck up. And then all their fans were like, "They should have known. They should have known about this. This is their fault." Y'all got generators this race? We always had backup generators for the lights. I don't think Team Liquid has generators. I don't know a lot about power, but I imagine having backup generators to run like an entire production setup, like 50 PCs, multiple streams, and an entire facility with hundreds of people in it sounds like extremely expensive, I assume, for something that should never happen. Like, for example, Team Liquid's power had not gone out for like a year. And then before that, it was like 4 years. It was just like extremely low RNG. I think it doesn't make sense to invest in that amount of battery backup for something that basically never happens. Not to mention, like, we're not their only esport, but like if the power went down here for the league team, it would literally never matter. It's only for exactly when we were doing the race. It doesn't really make sense for them to do that. Like, I don't think they're going to invest in a backup generator system that would basically be equated to like a small hospital for something that should never happen, probably will never happen again, at least while we're here, and otherwise would have no effect. Max, are you actually at risk of getting kicked out of the facility before the race is over? Yes, that's almost happened multiple times. Specifically when you lose, the majority of the race's costs are related to like housing, like putting everyone up in hotels or apartments, and like food and stuff. Yeah, when we've lost races before, we were like, okay, we have all day to kill this boss and then, like, you know, end our suffering. And then, like, I've gotten pulled into a room and been like, yo, no matter what, we're not extending the flights. Like, the flights that are going off tomorrow are going off tomorrow. And if you guys don't kill it, which means if you guys don't kill it tonight, you have to fly home for 2 to 3 days before you can raid again. They're not going to keep us in the facility and extend and spend a bunch of money extending flights again if that happens, but that's almost happened multiple times. There's no like, the thing is to win, you know. That's tough, dude. Yeah, you should have seen the fucking look on my face when they told me that. I was mad as fuck. I was so mad. Yeah, they added so much stress too that night. Um, why are some people rating from the Liquid EU headquarters this tier? Visa issues? No. Usually we have the entire facility to ourselves for races. But the league team is here right now, so we couldn't overtake their like the league team's rooms. So like the coaching staff and the LCS LTA, I don't know what the fuck it's called now, but like the league team is here, so we couldn't fly all of our players. So we have like I think like 9 players playing from the Team Liquid Netherlands facility. Which definitely fucking sucks, by the way. But I mean, that just is what it is. League team takes priority. Ping doesn't matter. It's just, yeah, it's just, I don't know. You just want to be with all the guys. Any idea who those 9 are? Oh, I have no idea. No, no idea who's over there. Fuck it. Who could it be? Ping doesn't matter. I thought it would. Nah. You get like 89, 90 ping from the Netherlands facility, which is like just extremely normal and fine for WoW. Why couldn't they fly over here? There's no room. The desks we would normally have for them were taken by league players. Yeah, chat. Yeah, relax. It's not the league players' fault. They're just playing league. They're chilling. Y'all are slandering their names. It's it's a Team Liquid like managerial decision, you know. Yeah. Plus, it's more like I don't. I mean, I don't know. It like if we lost this race, I wouldn't be like, well, this was the case. Like, I don't think it would ever be a reason for us to lose. It sucks. I would say it sucks more than it like hurts our chances to win. It's just like you just kind of want to be with everyone. I'm actually kind of surprised this hasn't happened before. We've done like so many races from this facility now, and it must have knowing that the league team always has priority. I think they've just been like scrimming in Korea or getting ready for Worlds at least for 3 of the races. And the other 2 I think they were at like it was just happened to be when they were doing like MSI or some random shit. It's just actually just been lucky timing. Or off season, yeah. Max, did you comment on her Hardman Tazavesh dropping a myth track item for Deathless Run? Do you think that's a cool change? Yeah, I actually think it's pretty cool. I'm a fan. At least I'm a fan of seeing how it plays out, but I think it's an interesting cook. Like the potential upsides are great. More mythic track options for players that especially like Mythic Plus players. Like right now they complain about that all the time, right? You're like basically doubling the amount, even though it's a lot harder to obtain. but it'll be easier once the season gets going. It'll be probably pretty hard next week, but I like an aspirational thing. Like, is it going to make or break your character if you don't get a mythic track item next week, which is like most likely just going to save you 30 or 15 crests for most players? Like, that just like straight up is so insanely not important, but like you still want to get it, which is great. So like, I feel like they struck a good thing. I think people are going to really try to do it. Now, potential downsides like breeding toxicity. You really don't want to be that person who fails. Does everyone get mad at this person? Maybe, you know, try to do it with your friends. Have a conversation that right before you go in, like, hey guys, if anyone fucks up, we tried our best, you know, try to keep it light. But could there be a little bit of that? But there's always a little bit of that in anything they try to do that's cool. I would like them to at least cook with it. I think there's definitely some cool that can come out of it. Aspirational content that actually gives you good rewards is really cool in the game. I'm glad they're doing it. That's my opinion, at least. Speaking of that, speaking of another aspirational reward, the Nexus Princess Delve boss is fucking sick, dude. They finally cooked. Now, if you can count on having a boss like that every season, fucking banger. Have you done it? No, I haven't done it. I usually don't play my characters much at all this week. Kind of low-key do want to do it, though. Maybe I'll do it like after the raid when I'm less busy, and I'll just not do it on like a super juiced character. Because of the few streams I watched of people doing it, it looked like they had a lot of fun pulling it over and over again and getting good at it. It sounds really good. What eye level's your monk? 668. I'd probably rip it something close to this. They should put a Herald of the Titans type achievement on Kai'Veza. I actually agree with that. I don't think it should give you like a mount or anything crazy. Maybe not even a title. But I think as an achievement, like doing Kai'Veza or doing the hard Delve boss every tier with whatever eye level you can really obtain in week 1. Because like, are you able to do it later in this season when you have like 50 more eye level? It's just going to be a completely different experience probably. So, like, yeah, I think absolutely. Not to mention it would actually give people something to do this week, which a lot of people sounds like they did do that. So, all G. Doesn't it scale with gear? Oh, maybe it does. I don't know a lot about it. Max, are the league players going to eat breakfast with you guys? Just be hanging out with y'all. I mean, they might be eating breakfast in the same area. We don't really know them and they don't know us. Atlas keeps talking about how big one of their asses is, though. He's fucking absolutely loving that shit. Every time he walks by. One of them just has a crazy ass. I don't know who it is, Mo. He just cannot stop talking about it. Someone on the league team is stacked the fuck up. That's all I'm saying. Caster lineup looks great as usual. Yeah, it sounds like they have Dash. Apparently, I mean, Dash has been a, like, sub-caster, like a special guest, basically, in previous races. I wonder if he's going to be around more than that. this time. I always figured that we couldn't get him full time because of like how much he costs. Like how much you get as a day rate as a league caster versus the race. Not to burst any bubbles here. Maybe you guys understand this. It's significantly less doing this than that, as you can imagine. But like I'm sure he's a freelance caster that does a bunch of other stuff. Or whatever he does. I don't even know if he still does League. Literally no idea. But he, the few times he was here, I kind of expected it to just be like, you know, some generic ass questions. But yeah, he was locked the fuck into the race. Not even just the current one. Like it was very evident upon him speaking that he has watched like every single race very closely. Like that he pulled out like a, do you think this boss is kind of like this boss in like Sepulcher and how that played out, like some shit from like fucking 4 years ago? And then he's right. It's like, yeah, you know what, those two bosses, it is similar in that way, you know. So like clearly he's actually locked the fuck in on it. So I feel like it's a great pickup for them to have him. I don't know how much he'll be here, but clearly he's like very invested in the race. All right, anyways, I think I'm about to go do some like tomorrow we're mainly just doing like walkthrough. There'll be no streaming tomorrow. Just mainly doing some walkthrough type stuff. Getting ready for the raid. So tonight will probably be just making sure we're fully prepared for that. Also tomorrow reacting to any like late tuning changes they do. I would actually, like most raids, I actually believe, just going on statistics here, I believe for the past, I don't remember pre-Amir Drasil, but since Amir Drasil, so the last 3 raids before this one, there has been tuning notes on the Monday before the raid as well as Friday. So you would largely expect that to stay the same tomorrow. So there will almost certainly be more tuning tomorrow. Not to say that they have any more information tomorrow than they did on Friday when they made their previous tuning changes, but usually they'll see community feedback to it and be like, well, maybe we missed a little bit here or something, and they at least just take another look at it. So they'll probably do that. So if you guys want your stuff changed in any way, fucking cry about it, because that and I don't even mean like fucking cry little bitch. I mean like literally like cry to them about it. If you cry a lot, you get shit changed. It's actually what happens. Louder class communities generally get more changes. That's how it works. Yeah. I'll see you guys on Tuesday when the race starts. So good luck. Good luck to me. I don't know if you, maybe good luck to you guys, unless you're doing something that you need luck for, I guess. All right. See you later.